Pass.
The
Cranberry
sauce.
Where?
Having
Mashed
potatoes.
Ooh.
The
turkey.
Looks
Great.
Thank
You.
For
being.
There.
Thank.
Thank you for loving me.
Thank.
Wait. I thought I said that.
Okay, try again. Pass.
The
Cranberry
sauce.
Where?
Having
mashed
potatoes.
Ooh.
The
turkey.
Looks
Great.
Thank
You.
For
loving
me.
Thank
You
for
being
there.
Everyone's
Thanking
the
whole
world.
Thanking
You
for
thanking
us.
For
Thanking
you.
kill
the
turkey.
Wow, it's just like it was when we did it in person. Just as seamless. Man, that is what teased me this week, because honestly, I forgot. And you said don't forget, but then you got in my head and then I forgot.
Oh, but then I totally forgot, and then I had a bunch of reasons to list off of why I am not thankful today. So,
oops.
thank you, Thanksgiving Santa Claus, for reminding me of the spirit of today.
Next week, you know what's gonna happen, but we're not doing it yet because we have to give Pass the cranberry sauce its own little breathing room, since we accidentally missed his birthday this year.
What are you thankful for anything right now? Me either.
That's a joke. I'm very thankful, but I'm also very sleepy, and that's the hard life we live.
I'm very sleepy. I have a few reasons. I would like to read to you why I drank in this exact moment.
To me.
I did. Well, I have wrote a list because I knew I'd forget.
Wow. Gosh, I think this is the first time we've ever written it down.
That's the first time in 408 episodes we've had notes, maybe.
Yeah. That's true too.
No, the first one is that I planned on making my day extra special with getting a drink delivered to me instead of having my usual LD.
Uh-huh.
I fire up the Uber Eats, and what do you know it? My item is sold out, and it never has been sold out. Today's the first day, and it's the one where the person who owns the coffee shop, so I'll give them a shout out, Three Sisters Coffee and Tea. They don't know where I live, hopefully, but I do order from them often, and I think when they say M in Burbank, and I was ordering a shitload of London Fogs all at once.
Right, it kind of clicked for somebody.
It did. And so whenever they send me drinks, they write like a fun little note on it, and it always makes me happy. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to cheer myself up and have a little London Fog today. Sold out. So for once, I don't like them.
Oh, sorry. You have that delivery of London Fogs. Yeah, all 468. Can you put those in the hallway, please? I'll be drinking them later. Sorry, I muted myself for a minute. What was that?
I do usually get like 3 at a time.
Keep all the nice notes for me, like set them aside so that I can read them later. I know they're gonna know who I am and write me some nice messages. Okay, thanks.
It always makes me feel so good. I've never asked them back, but like because I don't want to let them know where I live, and I'm obviously ordering.
I do. At this point, I feel like they could have checked by now. I mean, I'm not saying did, but
I don't know if I'm there and they can see the address because they're the restaurant. But
maybe they can. Yeah, I don't know.
But so, and since I want to like still have correspondence with them, I leave notes in I leave nice notes back to them in the additional comments on my Uber Eats order.
Very thoughtful.
So it's kind of like
so today you just sent a middle finger. You were like, thanks for nothing.
If I could have, yeah. But so I'm mad about that because I thought I was going to have a better day today because my taste buds would be a little more ecstatic. So that's number one. Number two.
Heartbreaking.
Thank you. I thought so. I felt it. Number two is that I have been looking everywhere for, the company Nido that does like the sensory squishy balls.
Yes, I've been seeing those everywhere.
Okay, so they had a release drop for a while ago called the Gum Drop, which I was very excited about. It comes after the Nido Nice Cube, which I was much more desperate to have, but everywhere I went, they were sold out. I finally got my hands on one yesterday, the
Uh-huh.
Nido Nice Cube. It is a dream come true. If you have an oral moral fixation like I do, where you want to chew on it so fucking bad, like a
Moral
doc.
or molar?
I said
Oral
oh, sorry, you're
molar.
right, molar. I said oral, and then my brain got tricked. Oral molar. Jeez, that's a
That
tongue
is a
twister.
really tricky combination of words, to be fair.
If you have the fixation I do of like wanting to chew on Dr. Scholl's, the Nido Nice Cube will absolutely floor you.
Seriously? That's great.
Absolutely floor. If you throw it in the freezer for 10 minutes,
It's
forget
like
it.
you're teething like a little baby.
I literally was gnawing on it like a caveman last night.
Holy shit.
It was disgusting, but it felt so fucking good. But here's the thing. I broke it.
You wait, hold on. Now
within
I'm
like an hour.
I'm immediately imagining that you like bit it and like whatever gooey contents or something
No,
came out.
I'm lucky.
Oh, thank God.
No, it might have
Because a Dr.
begun-
Scholl's, I've thought so many times about the one day that you bite into a Dr. Scholl's or whatever, and it'll just like the goo will get everywhere, and it'll probably just kill you on the spot. I do worry about that.
I am lucky that the biting, I was actually impressed because I was trying to bite it really hard and I was like, it's not even breaking. Maybe this thing is like a solid gel that I've never heard of in my life.
Oh,
I was blown
gosh.
away. But then I was doing the thing where you twist it like a balloon animal, and that was what gave it
No!
critical mass. And so can confirm inside is a very, very thick and very can't get it off your fingers sticky glue.
Like a viscous situation?
Yeah, and like once one little hole broke, like once it had a pore, it started like coming out really quick.
It's just
So-
like spouting.
So usually I got it yesterday. What I would have liked to do is play with it while we were recording today, but I will have to settle for the gumdrop, which is fine, but I really love that Nice
Can I
Cube.
see you squish it? I've never seen somebody use it before.
Yeah, let me. So my favorite thing about the Nice Cube and the gumdrop is that they always go back to their form, like so, like it always stays like gumdrop.
That's
shaped.
nice. That's
And
cute.
then it has the same consistency as the Nice Dough, but it has little textures on it.
I've never held a nice dough or Nido or whatever.
It's basically a stress ball, but it's like really tough. Like it's almost like a resistance.
That's nice. So you
kind of
don't
band.
feel. Well, I was gonna say, so you don't feel like you're gonna ruin it, but I guess you do now.
This one feels a little tougher than the Nice Dough.
Yeah, you
but,
tell yourself that.
yeah, I've learned
You're
to
gonna
not do the
bite it.
balloon animal thing. But no, if you bite it, wow, it's delicious. It's amazing. Okay,
Somebody somewhere just found their kink watching you do that. Like, whoa.
that's fine. If I'm your awakening with the Nido gumdrop,
I've
sensory
never
toy for
touched one of
baby
these, and
children.
now it's literally all I want is now to touch one of these. I
Okay,
can't
so-
believe I've never touched one of these.
You want the Nice Dough, you don't want this. And then not to say that this isn't
dough?
sorry, the Nice Cube.
Isn't it Nido? Oh, nice.
The brand is Nido because playing with them is Nito.
Right, but it's a nice cube, not
The Nice Cube is the
knee
one you
cube
want.
or whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Not that this isn't great, but the Nice Cube does something that I've been waiting for my whole life.
Wow.
So that's the second reason I drink. The third reason is because I just bought 10 flights for the rest of the year. Because I
wish I were surprised, but yeah, me too.
just the way that we travel, it's just I wrote it all down and I went, oh my God. So I'm going from like here to there to here to there because I just have so much between tour, which luckily half of them are covered by like the podcast, but the other half are still like I'm going to a baby
Oh, the
shower, I'm
holiday
going to my
ones are
aunt's,
not-
I'm
are
going
not
to for
covered
home
by
for Christmas.
any.
Yeah. So I just added it all up and wow, I can barely afford one more Nice Cube or a lemon fog from this fucking
Stop
coffee
chewing
place.
on it.
So for that reason, I drink LD.
Wow, that was quite a presentation.
Thank you. Your turn.
It's
Why
at
do you
the-
drink?
I mean, it's hard to beat all your trauma over there, to be honest.
I'm telling you, with this list of flights, the London Fog and the Nice Cube would have both been a real help today. So
Well, I guess I'll keep it out of frame because I did bring up my Aaron's putty to play with, but now I feel that maybe I should just not rub it in.
it's fine. What Aaron's putty do you have?
I got a Leona one that has like little faces, like the little smiley faces where you have to find the different emotions, and then I got myself the bumblebee honey one.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I was a fan for a while of the liquid glass, but she gets dirty so fast.
I was gonna say I saw that and went, I would like that, but I know that it'll end up on my carpet.
I also like the one that comes with the little black light and you can draw on it. But, you know, after a while, I was like, I'm going to lose this little keychain. I already know.
Yeah, I wanted it to be as simple as possible because I knew I would just get overwhelmed. Anyway, but why do I drink this week? My oh my. I mean, there are many reasons. So many. So many.
You want to borrow one of mine, or you?
I'm trying to think of if any of them are
interesting enough.
No, they're interesting. They're just maybe off-air conversations.
Oh,
so I'm trying to think of how to approach this. I mean, you know a lot of it, but I'm just having some interesting turns of events and stuff when it comes to like people in my life. I'm trying to be so vague.
Oh, are we talking about a family situation?
Yeah, and it just I have so many updates for you when I see you next or talk to you next. It's bad. Okay, it's not bad. It's just like a lot, and I had to do a breathing test. Not a breathing test. I had to do a breathing exercise this morning because I didn't know how to stop breathing or start breathing. Oh my god! This morning I woke up and had a panic attack, and then like just out of the blue, and then my ring was like, "You didn't sleep last night." And I was like, "Yeah, no shit." And so then I tried to nap, and I was like, "Man, why can't I fall asleep?" And then I looked at my watch and my heart rate was like 96 beats per minute. And I was like,
lucky.
I've been lying in bed for like 4 hours. Why is my heart racing? So I was like, I went on Instagram to just like distract myself. And the first meme I saw was like, how do I tell my nervous system I'm not being hunted for sport? And I was like, great question. And so I tried to breathe, but then I couldn't breathe anymore. Anyway, it's just been one of those days where I'm like, can everybody just give me a fucking break for a millisecond? Because I need to sleep more than 5 hours a night. And I can't because no one's really letting me do that. So it's fine. Everything's fine. We're going to record also the listener episode after this. And I've already put some wine aside because that'll be prime drinking hour. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. But mostly, let's just say there's just some drama, but there's always drama, you know? And I'm so sick of it. I'm just so sick of it. So
I know exactly how you feel. One time I had this thing called the Nido Nice Cube and it broke. And it's just been a really bad life since. So
I thought you were going to be like, well, one time I was in an ambulance because of my heart. And I was like, I know. But
no.
Usually I only have one health thing to worry. Well, not one, but 3 health things to worry about. Today it feels like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. And then my intrusive thoughts have been getting so much worse. And I'm like, oh my God, is that why I'm not sleeping?
Like what?
Did you just say good?
Like what?
Oh, it's mostly just about like, well, I did a whole thing on Instagram. Mostly it's about hurting
everyone's
people.
gonna die.
No, it's just me hurting people. And then, you know, that kind of thing. Like a lot of people, it's hurting themselves. Mine's hurting other people. I don't know which one's worse.
Like you fantasize about it and not like in a way that you want it, but it's like stuck in your head.
It's like, so it's, how do you have any intrusive thoughts? Really? Or not? Or like really like sticky ones? Or not really?
Sometimes I feel like I do, but then I gaslight myself into thinking maybe they're not intrusive thoughts. Because I think I don't know the definition, or I feel like other people have more intense ones, so then I feel like I like don't have the right to be claiming them as intrusive thoughts. I'll
just tell you. I mean, I think it's just something you can only determine for yourself, but they're unwanted, repetitive, and persistent thoughts, urges, or images that cause distress or anxiety, and a lot of mine are very they're marked by being like so outrageous. It's almost like you're tricking your brain into being like, look how fucked up you are that you're thinking about this. And it's like, it's not me. It's just my brain. And it like, I don't know. For me, it finds like my biggest fears and then decides like right as I'm falling asleep to be like, imagine if this happened. It's like, oh, fuck you. But that's more like an anxiety thing. I think that's more anxiety.
I think I have intrusive thoughts in where I think about like really fucked up things and then I feel bad about even having those thoughts in my head.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. It's a very, very vicious cycle because.
But I don't think about the what ifs. Like I just think of like, you know how when we like the internet was a lawless land and we would see really fucked up videos as kids, sometimes they'll replay in my head and I can't get them out of my head, and then I'm like, why?
Interesting.
That just sounds like trauma. Like that just sounds like
I was gonna say, it sounds like you're just having memories, flashbacks.
Yeah, but then I think like, oh, why can't I stop thinking about it? And then I freak myself out where I'm like, why do I like it, or like why can't I just make myself stop thinking about it? That's kind of the furthest it goes, though. I don't.
I mean,
So
that's
then I
yeah. I don't know. Listen. I'm no diagnostic expert, so I can't say. But yeah, it's Anyway, it's fine. I just need to like chill out. I don't know how to chill out.
yeah, I gotcha.
That's all.
No, the only thing that ever really happens to me is I panic. I'm like, do I actually like I know I don't, but I'm like, then why else would I be thinking about it nonstop? But then maybe it's just something that it's like a earworm, but a brain worm where I just can't stop. It just keeps replaying and I
Like,
can't escape
is
it.
it like a visual too? Like you're watching
Yeah,
it
just
play?
like those really like fucked up ones that everyone saw when we were kids. Like
I'm like trying to imagine what you mean, like Two Girls, One Cup or something.
kind of. It was more like really violent videos. Like they would just pop up on your feed back in the day. It was like on like E-Bombs World and stuff.
Oh God.
Um, and sometimes I end up thinking about those and I just can't get it out of my head. But maybe I can't get it out of my head because it's like so fucking traumatic that like it won't escape easily.
It sounds like it's in there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I don't. I guess I luckily don't suffer from too many tendencies. I'm sure I've got like a quirk, like one OCD quirk,
No.
but I don't suffer from it. So
You're not a quirk. You're not full of quirks. You're so boring
I know.
and normal.
I would look if I had my nice cube and it was in my mouth, you wouldn't be able to hear me agreeing with you. But you're right. I
Oh wait,
have not a single
I'm
quirk
drinking
to me.
water out of the mug you gave me when I got engaged.
Oh, I'm surprised you still have that. I feel like you could have.
Of course I still have it. You know that. You know that I hold on to things. It's a dangerous game to play, giving me presents. They'll never escape.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Well, no, so I feel like every now and then when it comes to mugs, you're allowed to be like, okay, we got a whole new shipment coming in of like 30 new mugs that I bought recently.
I just
Time
love
to clear out the old ones.
This one's too special.
That's nice. Wow. I'm so moved. Well,
I wish
you
you had
wanted
put your nice cube in your mouth when you said that. I'm so moved.
it sounded like this. Wow, that's so nice.
I can't believe you're doing this. This is actually no. Everybody's finding their anti-kink, and it's including me right now. Oh my god!
Okay,
and then you pulled a hair out of your mouth. I'm gonna throw up. All right, go on.
I thought I felt a hair.
I'm the one who eats stuff off the ground. If I'm grossed out, there's a problem.
We're fine. It's a big gumdrop. We're okay. I could have put so many worse things in my mouth. Okay. Let's do a story.
So it's the holidays, and that means a lot of gifting and happiness, but also, of course, that all means a lot of spending. There are holidays where you have to rebound, and it sometimes takes a little while to rebound. We've all been there. But you can take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no monthly or maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit.
To date, Chime has spotted members over $32 billion in transactions through SpotMe. Friends give friends a boost. Eligible members get complimentary boosts to temporarily increase a friend's SpotMe limit. And when you give a boost, they can boost you back to temporarily raise your limit.
This sounds gamified, and I'm all about it. After a qualifying direct deposit of $200 or more, Chime will notify you to enroll in SpotMe. With an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to $200 when you exceed your balance.
Enjoy the holidays while keeping your financial goals on track with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/drink. That's chime.com/drink. Chime feels like progress.
Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Direct deposit timing depends on submission of payment file. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in SpotMe and are subject to monthly limits. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs and for OTC withdrawals.
This is from... I always say this is from as if it's a person, but I mean a
Yeah,
location.
this is from...
This is from my friend who sent in a request.
From my Google Docs.
Yeah, this is from Google. This is called the Hampton House, and it is 10 miles from Baltimore.
Ooh, it's not in the Hamptons.
You know, here's the thing. It's so weird
Aren't
that
you
this
going
story...
to the Hamptons? Sorry, that's
No,
probably...
but the reason you're thinking that is because I mentioned the Hamptons on our last leg together.
Yes.
And I don't remember why, but
because you said you
must
were
have been...
invited to go to the Hamptons.
Oh, well, it ended up
And I
turning
said,
into
"You
another
better go."
conversation. It turned into another conversation where my mom and I are thinking of going because I was like, I've never been to this place. It sounds way out of my league, but I think for observation's sake, I need to go. Like a sociology.
That's what I said.
study
Yeah, I was
of
like, you
sorts.
better do it.
So I have asked
Someone
her. I'm
invites
like,
you to the Hamptons, you say yes, you know, especially if it's not on your bill.
well, so we're gonna probably I told her we should go probably at the end of this year or something. By the way, fun
Fun.
fact, my mom is retiring soon, and
Oh,
so
congrats, Linda.
and so I have a feeling I'm about to be her travel buddy to a few new places. So
How exciting.
okay, here we go. This is not in the Hamptons, but let's pretend. We start in 1790.
Ah, good year.
I know Christine thought that she was like going to get away without having to talk for a second, so she shoved her mouth full of M&Ms or something.
It's pretzels. It's Dots pretzels. And then I muted myself, and then I was like, "Oh, I have a great joke for this. Hold on."
Every time
to wait.
Every time I say the year, I know Christine's got to say like, "Oh, I remember her fondly."
I remember it well. Yeah, so stupid. It's talk about like intrusive thoughts.
So okay, 1790. That is when the Hampton House is built. It took like 18 years for this thing to be built. They started in 1772, so before America existed, before the United States was here.
What
and
year
then
was that? 1776.
6.
I thought it was 2. 1772. Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
That's 1492.
Oh yeah, that's a different thing.
And then on the 500th
I wish I'd
anniversary of
muted
that,
my-
I was born.
Oh. I wish I had muted myself again. That was really stupid.
That part, the microphone should have been off, and you should have had a bunch
Damn,
of pretzels in your mouth.
embarrassing.
Do you remember the rest of that song, by the way?
What song?
The Columbus song.
Oh no, I don't know any of. Apparently, I don't even know the first line of the Columbus song. We
it's-
just determined that.
In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He brought 3 ships. Their names were these: the Santa,
What?
the something, the Santa Maria. It was like, so you knew all 3 of the
Pinto,
ships.
the Mayflower. Are those right? Oh wait, no. One of those is Pilgrims. Wait, hold on. What's
He
a
brought 3
pilgrim?
ships. Their name. What's a pilgrim?
Having a mental
Okay,
breakdown.
We have to obviously.
Having a mental breakdown.
At all stages of the
What's a
education
pilgrim?
system, we've been failed. Okay.
Listen, I've been trying to erase that Columbus motherfucker out of my mind for decades. He's one of my E-Bombs World videos that I can't get out
I
of
was
my
going to
head.
say, thinking of intrusive thoughts, I hate that man, and that song will always be in there.
The song is definitely going to be haunting us for the rest of our lives. Yeah.
I got to remember those 3 damn ships, or it's going to kill me. Hang
Santa
on.
Maria, Pinto, and Mayflower. Am I crazy?
It's not the Mayflower. The Santa
Oh.
Maria, not Pinto. That's a bean. Let me see. The Pinta. You were
okay.
kinda right.
I was close to fucking you
Nina-
freak. You
the
fucking
Nina, the
freak. That's a
Pinta,
bean. You
the
fucking
Santa Maria.
freak. I was 1 letter off. Give me
Okay,
a
but
break.
if you and I had a boat today, though, we would name it probably Beans, like the SS Beans.
SS Pinto.
Can't-
I would call it the SS Pinto and be like, "Get it, guys?" And nobody would get it. And I'd be like the boat, and they'd be like, "That's a bean." And I'd be like,
They'd be
"I'm
like
gonna
the boat with
just-
the pilgrims on it, or
Yeah, wait, what's a pilgrim again? Anyway, it's fine. I feel like it's okay that we don't remember about pilgrims. You know?
yeah, I'm
Let's just
fine
forget
to. And what a Thanksgiving episode this is. Okay, so
You're right. But the fact that we did this after Thanksgiving is even stupider because it's like it's not even going to come out. Whatever. It comes out in December. Oh gosh.
just know that as Thanksgiving season entered for us, as it was upon us, the first thing Christine asked me was, "What's a pilgrim?"
I mean, and I still stand by it, is what I say. And I'm glad you didn't tell me.
I don't want to know. I
don't
also
wanna
don't
know.
know.
I don't know either.
The end of the year is coming around, and it's a good time to celebrate. A lot of things going on in the world, and it feels like a good time to step back and look at life in this moment and commemorate it with something beautiful, something sparkly, maybe.
If you're thinking of buying jewelry, there is no better place to do it than BlueNile.com. Whether you're looking for a bit of special sparkle for yourself or, just imagine M if you were to gift me your wonderful co-host, a beautiful anniversary locket.
With my face in it.
Yeah, with your face in it, obviously. Blue Nile offers some of the highest quality standards in the industry at prices significantly below traditional retail.
If you have questions about what to get, Blue Nile's jewelry experts are on hand 24/7 via phone or chat. You also get 30-day returns and a diamond price match guarantee.
That's what we offer here too at And That's Why You Drink, a diamond price match guarantee. I was looking for a new ring style when I was pregnant with Leona, and I wanted like a very specific style of jewelry. And so I did reach out to several companies, and I remember Blue Nile being very to the point, knowledgeable. They also showed me the pricing right away, which was very useful. Whereas some places kind of were hemming and hawing about it.
Go to BlueNile.com to shop Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com, BlueNile.com. So, here's the thing. 1772, Columbus had already sailed the ocean blue about 300 years before.
I'm like 300 years off. That's so stupid. It's really embarrassing.
And I wore a shirt yesterday that said Harvard on it, which is so funny.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. I didn't, so at least I'm in the clear.
So for those 18 years, 72 to 1790, this house was being built. And it was built by a guy named Colonel. I'm pretty sure Colonel. One source said Captain, but every other source said Colonel. By Colonel Charles Ridgley. And the like most bittersweet part of this is the house was finally built 18 years later, and then Charles died.
But it always goes like that, right? Because it's like the second they have the money, or like the year they finally have the money to like build a nice house, all of a sudden they're starting construction, and then it takes 20 years, and then they're dead because they're like 50.
Yeah,
in the 1700s. It's just like, oh man.
I think he did die by like 56. Yeah, you're right.
See, man.
So he did not get to enjoy the 18 years of money he spent towards construction.
That's too bad.
And speaking of which, I just thought this was a funny little thing. The carpenter that built the house, I want you to ask me how much they paid him for the build.
Oh, how much did they pay the carpenter who built it?
Good question. So they paid him $6,000 in the 1700s, which is around 200 grand today, and also 17 gallons of rum.
That was like, I would love to see the negotiating on that. Like,
I feel like
make
they were
15 gallon. No, I won't settle for anything less than 17.
I feel like they were like, oh, you do owe me more money, and he was like, yeah, I can't find any more cash in my wallet. Will you take like 17 gallons of rum I've got in the back? Was that good?
Costco like over shipped Instacart. They misunderstood what I ordered. Do you want to take 17 gallons of rum? Oh
I just need like 17 shots of it, and I have gallons.
That's perfect.
Fun fact, not so fun fact. Apparently, he drank too many of those gallons in one sitting, and this carpenter ended up dying by drunk driving his own horse into the river.
No, that means his horse died. Probably, maybe,
but I didn't look it up because I didn't need to know.
Carriage. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't.
I like to think he was like cowboy riding it just for fun, and the horse got away.
Oh, and then he fell in the river, and the horse was like, "What the fuck did you think you were doing?"
That's the hope.
I like that version better.
I feel like the horse was like, I'm dropping you off in the water. You can figure it out from here. And then he didn't. Okay, so Charles Ridgley is the one who built this house. Then he ends up dying. He was able to afford this house. I mean, this is a massive house. It was the largest Georgian architecture. It was the largest Georgian house around after the Revolutionary War. Which Georgian to me just looks like older colonial houses.
Yeah,
I don't know the difference.
There's some of those in my neighborhood, and I'm like, oh, it's a nice example of Georgian architecture. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I'm like, okay, it's a nice house, great.
Okay.
The way that he was able to afford this house is he got into iron working, and it was right before the Revolutionary War, and then all of a sudden they needed all of his ironworks operations for like helmets and artillery and weapon or bullets, and so cannonballs. I think all the cannonballs were made by him in the area, and I think him being there and running this ironworks operation, the economy blew up in Baltimore, and that's how Baltimore became like a major city at the time.
Oh,
so he quite thrived from the Revolutionary War. And the mansion, because it was so big, it took 18 years to build. It was the largest private residence in the country at the time. Although
Jesus.
remember,
Okay, so that's on him for dying because, like, he could have built it half the size and then lived there for 10 years. But no, he decided it had to be bigger, bigger, bigger. Then he died. Well, that was going to happen.
I will say the country was like 10 years old. So like he didn't really have a lot of competition in the largest private residence.
This is such a good point. And
contest.
Also, what's the country at this point, even?
Just Baltimore,
the country?
I think.
Yeah, the country. I thought that didn't happen until 1776.
Yeah, and he started, actually, it was perfect timing for building a house and wanting to make sure you beat everyone else size-wise, because if the building started before the United States existed and only finished after the country existed, you had, while the country was being built, you had a contractor next to you going, oh, we could do it a little bigger, right? Because I heard someone over there has a big house too.
Yeah, and like I can just use this Elmer's glue, right? There's no like laws that I have to actually make this thing stand up straight, right? Like I can just cut corners.
You can use the knead-dough, you just pop it with your teeth and it's really sticky. So that'll do. Okay, so yeah, the mansion took forever and it was modeled after a castle in England.
Sure.
It had thousands of acres. One of my favorite rooms in the house is a snack and tea room.
No, I love that.
And apparently it had 6 state champion trees. Do you know what a champion tree is?
I mean, I'm assuming it got like a ribbon in some state fair, but I have no idea.
Kind of. So a champion tree is the largest tree of its kind.
Remember that giant thing when we talked about mulberry bushes and got like really, sorry to say, in the weeds, but pun not intended. But remember when we got really in the weeds about like what a mulberry bush was and whether this was like a...
To this day, I'm more certain about a pilgrim than a mulberry bush, which I'll just let you
We were
know.
like, I thought that was a tree. I thought that was a... and they would literally be in the prison yard. I don't know. I have very vague memories of that episode, but I remember being very concerned that like this tree got beat out by some other tree with a blue ribbon, and I was very hurt on its behalf. So, okay, so it's
for
a
people
biggest
listening,
one.
That was the episode where I was covering the origins, the spooky origins of nursery rhymes.
Right.
And the mulberry bush and that mulberry bush song apparently is a mulberry bush that's just sitting in a prison, and all the prisoners
song.
would just go around it to kill
they
time.
Had nothing better to do. It's like that's probably one of the most haunting backstories. Like, okay,
just walking around a tree
How
until
charming.
I get to leave. But no, so a champion tree is the largest of its kind. So out of 6 different species of tree on his property, the largest of its kind happened to be on his property.
Like to this day, because like, how did they even know that? Did anybody go wander west and find out? Like, I think
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Thank you, because like you could say that, and who's gonna fucking test you on it?
Yeah, back then, like you could just say like, oh, it's the biggest tree I've ever seen. So I guess that makes it the biggest.
Yep, it deserves accolades, I guess.
I will say it is apparently taken very seriously these days. The state fun fact with the most champion trees is Florida, and then Virginia is second.
Really?
And they measure them based on their height, obviously, and then their crown spread, which is the
bushy part.
The bushy part and how far it reaches over. And trunk circumference.
I was going to say, you got to get the girth in there.
I love the girth, obviously. Yeah, obviously, I do before everyone else. So, 6 allegedly at the time. I don't know how true it was, though. The property also, to this day, has multiple buildings on it. I mean, this was thousands of acres.
Yeah.
So it basically looked like a little neighborhood. But
he was being a little bit selfish with his, I guess, acquisition of property, but whatever.
There was also like one other person in the whole country.
Exactly.
I think he I will say that very few sources talked about this, and I don't want to be one of those people that like sugarcoats over history. So I am going to say that of the multiple buildings that are still on the site, many are living spaces for enslaved people.
Or were.
Again, very few sources talked about it, but one source was able to give a number that in the property's history, over 700 enslaved people worked there. And we do know that some of the original owners' children were of color. So think about how that came to be. Anyway, I just didn't want to be one of the other sources that just like floats away from that.
Yeah, totally.
It's shocking how few historical places cover it.
That's like really upsetting fact. Yeah, I don't like that.
A lot of times I don't even know but if I see it, I'll say it. I just very rarely even
It
shockingly
doesn't
see
even
it.
come
But
across. Yeah.
at the same time, if you think about it, I mean, this guy may be a fucking pilgrim at this point. I don't
I
know.
know,
But
right? It's basically.
but he was building this massive plantation at the turn of the literal of the turn of the countries. The turn of the country. So
I get
you
it.
put it together. There is nothing my mom likes more than looking at my face. So one of the things that I recently got her was an Aura digital picture frame where you can upload all sorts of pictures. She picks the ones of me, and it was one of her most recent presents, but I'm kind of thinking about getting my stepdad a second one for Christmas.
Okay, they're really fun too, especially because you can, like, when you gift it, you can already preload pictures on it, which is really cool. So when I gave mine to my parents, it was like, now turn on, of course, instead of my face. They just want to see Leona snore. But it's really cool because, like, from afar, you can keep adding photos.
Not only is it beautiful and super easy to use, but Aura is also the only digital photo frame with unlimited photo and video storage. So endless pictures of my face, Mom. Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you listening? Plus, you can personalize and preload, like you said, an Aura frame with a gift message. Also, on top of everything else, it's easy to set up. It takes about 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app, and you get free unlimited storage. You can add unlimited photos and videos and invite as many people as you want to a frame.
I revealed I was pregnant through one to my Blaze's grandma by sending an ultrasound to her frame. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code DRINK at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code DRINK. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year, so don't miss out. Terms and conditions apply.
So this, like I said, the family's name was Ridgley. There are 7 generations of Ridgleys who lived here back to back. They lived here from 1790 to 1948, which is such a wild time. Like such a big range.
That feels like a big range, yeah.
And how it got the name Hampton House is that before the Ridgleys lived here, the land belonged to another guy. He was related to like Lord Baltimore. I'm not even going to ask you if you know who that is.
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Didn't they name a city after him in Maryland?
For a second, I was
know,
like,
I felt it. It felt
Christine.
bad. It felt
yes,
really bad.
Baltimore.
It felt really bad. I'm glad we're moving on.
I will say when I hear Lord Baltimore, all I think of is Miss Baltimore Crabs from Hairspray. So
no, I think of Lord Byron, but I still don't know jack shit about him either. So I don't know what good that is.
How he made it is amazing.
I think Lord Byron was like a very questionable dude, is what I know. I think maybe.
I think anyone with the name Lord,
That's really
including
true.
Lord, the musician.
Oh, I think including the Lord.
Especially that fucking guy.
Especially the Lord.
Especially that guy. I got a few words for him.
This is so stupid.
So the guy who's related to Lord Baltimore, he originally owned this land before the Ridgleys ever got there. And this piece of land is a part of so much. Like, if you think the Ridgleys had a lot of acreage by owning this property, the Lord Baltimore guy had basically the entire state of Maryland, it seems. Cool. And this was just a sliver of his land.
Great. So, okay.
But each part of his land that he owned, he somehow like found a way to insert the name Hampton into it. So he had Northampton, Oakhampton, and Hampton Court. And those were his properties. So this land we're talking about today, where the Hampton House sits, is on Northampton.
Okay.
He ends up it ends up being sold in the 1740s, about 300 years after Columbus, just so you know.
Thank you.
And it gets sold for 600 pounds sterling, which I did the math for you. That at the time was $750, but in today's world, that's about 50,000.
Okay, 600 pounds sterling.
I don't know what that means to this day. Please don't ask me.
But it sounds like they meant literal pounds of silver.
Oh, wow.
Not like pounds as in the British currency, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe it did mean pounds because we were British back then. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Also, that means like a pound of sterling is like essentially like around $1. $1 for I don't know. I don't know which pound they mean. All I know is it equates to 50 grand today.
Okay.
The Ridgleys then bought it, maybe for that 50 grand. And they built the mansion on it, again, on the part of the land called Northampton. So I'm assuming that they named it Hampton House as an homage to the original name.
Right. That would make sense. Yeah.
I have to assume, because I saw one website where it's like, how did it get its name? And then it only told me like what feels like half the story. So
okay, we'll just fill in the blanks.
The first Ridgley, Colonel Ridgley, who I mentioned, their family fucking loves the name Charles, by the way. I'm so fucking over it. And they also love the name John, because remember I told you there were 7 generations of Ridgleys? It goes Charles, Charles, John, John, and I think another Charles. And then one of those Johns had
Jekyll, Hyde, Jekyll.
And one of those Johns, by the way, had 2 sons, both named Charles. So
you got to give it a rest, people.
Like, try Edward or some other old name. Just like, come on.
George?
Fucking George. So the Ridgleys bought it. This is the first guy who owned it was a Charles. And on top of that, not only is he the first Charles of the many Charles to own this house, his father was also Charles. So he's technically Charles II, but he's the first of the house.
Chuck Jr.
Chuck Jr. He actually did have a nickname apparently in town called Charles the Merchant.
That's
he was also
so clever and original and catchy also.
And not at all vague, since we had a conversation about the word merchant last time. He was also apparently called Charles the Builder, Charles the Mariner. He just insert an occupation, and he
should have been Charles of all trade or something. Jack of all trade. Like, they could have come up with so many better names than fucking Charles the Merchant.
Charles the businessman, Charles the handyman, yeah.
Charles the entrepreneur.
And his father, by the way, Charles #1, who had nothing to do with this property, his name was Charles the Planter. Can you imagine, like, you're a planter and your son's a fucking builder? It sounds like we really upgraded. So he was the one who ran the iron operations during the Revolutionary War, so he is very successful. That's how he can afford to build this thing. He dies right as it's opened for the first time. And by the time he died, he owned like 25,000 acres of land. So that's why I'm saying this place is fucking massive.
Right.
When he dies, his nephew tried to throw him the largest funeral any country had ever seen.
I'm so tired of these people. I mean, come on. Oh, really? You're just trying to one-up each other now?
Like, we get it. You have money. Like, you just
want to...
And also, again, you don't have to try that hard. This is a new country.
And
like,
also, he's dead. He can't... He won't even know.
It's not like... And also, I don't know if he was trying to impress him to, like, get in the will, but spoiler alert, he ends up in the will. So maybe it worked. I don't fucking know.
Maybe.
But he tried to throw the largest funeral. And then again, here's a source that gave me the first half of a very interesting story and then didn't tell me the rest. I don't fucking know how successful this funeral was.
I see. So we just don't know what happened. We just know
that he wanted to.
There was a plan for a party.
There were concepts of fucking plans, yes.
Right. Depending on like the level of ADHD and or other mental illnesses he had. Who knows if it ever happened? Like, we just don't know. There's no way to know.
I saw this is like so chronically online of me to say, but there was a TikTok I saw of another podcast, and I don't know the name of this podcast, but I saw like the little clip float by, and I thought it was funny that they were saying the reason why our country has the most people with ADHD is because we are descendants of the people with the most ADHD from England, and they were all just like down to like just get on a fucking boat.
Let's go. Like, bring the kids.
Like, I'll get on a boat. We'll figure it out later. That's fine. Let's just go. Let's just see what happens.
What'll be on the other side? We're pilgrims. Oh, it all makes sense. I'm getting it now. Okay,
it's all connecting. Anyway, so he wants to. This guy maybe had ADHD because he's like, the party I'm going to throw for you when you die is insane. But then like. And then he never hear about it.
Which actually is even smarter, to just like talk big game about the party, and then when he's dead, be like, canceled. Sorry, I'm not feeling well. Anyway,
that same nephew did help fulfill part of the will, which was to build a family cemetery on the property, and then that original Charles who owned the house is the first person to be buried there.
Oh.
The guy who died, he also gave his wife 8 acres of like 25,000. By the way, 8 acres. Quote. For a garden with as many outhouses as she thinks necessary.
Wow, that's thoughtful.
So she gets a bunch of outhouses, and his nephew gets everything else, I guess.
Yeah, but she gets as many outhouses as she thinks is necessary. So
that's true. You know what? She will be convenienced in that garden, I'll tell you.
Wouldn't that be nice?
The wife, I guess she also was like the first in line to inherit the rest of everything, but I think she just didn't want to take care of a modeled after a castle building.
No.
And she was like, that's a lot of work. You have ADHD. You might be better at this than I am. So here, nephew, you take the keys. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Into my outhouses.
For people who care and are near Maryland, apparently she moved to a property called Auburn, which is now on the Towson State University campus. It's still there.
Oh, I wonder if that's haunted.
It sounds like it. But that's where she moved instead of the Hampton House. So the nephew now is the second owner of this house. His name is also Charles, of course.
Of course.
He was the 15th governor of Maryland, and which comes into play later. But he's the governor of Maryland. He has 11 kids. And after him, descendants kept the house in the family for as long as possible. But that sometimes meant having to sell off pieces of the land or adding side hustles on the property just to make ends meet because it was so fucking big. It was so hard to maintain. So like one time they opened a dairy and they sold milk in the area. They had their iron
Charles
operations.
The milkman.
Charles the milker.
Oh God.
What else? They had an apple cider press where they would just press cider. That sounds lovely.
That's nice.
So in 1948, I'm surprised they were able to survive through the Depression with how much that thing cost. But I guess it sounds like they were struggling for money at this point. Like the money didn't make it all 7 generations.
Right.
But they were still able to make it through the Depression. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So by 1948, it just finally became too expensive. And so one of the Johns of the family line, he sold it to the Avalon Foundation, and they gave the house over to the government, who made the property a National Historic Site. So they had a preservation society come in the 70s who took care of it. They also did ghost tours in the 70s. So
I bet those were I bet those were wild. I bet there was no fucking like rules, you know?
No, just
who knows what they were doing.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and a couple of ghosts.
The ghost hunt, yeah.
And I will say the turn of the decade, though, in 1979, the Park Service took it over from the Preservation Society originally handling it. And the Park Service really whipped that thing. And they were like, no sex, drugs, rock and rolls, and ghosts.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They took over the mansion and the surviving 60 acres. It used to be 25,000 acres, but now we have 60.
Jeez.
So they were really slowly selling off each piece of land just to keep this thing moving. And they do not like the idea that this is haunted. The Park Service denies that the ghosts exist altogether.
Lame.
I know. However, here are the listed ghosts.
Okay, good.
Managing finances can feel complicated and time-consuming, but it does not have to be, because Rocket Money simplifies everything, making it so easy to see exactly what's happening with your finances, track your spending, and give you full control of all of it right from your phone.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money, thank you for saving me so much moolah over the years. I appreciate it.
You can see all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. For any subscriptions you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them with a few taps. I mean, that's the amount of times that I have realized that I still subscribe to something. It's been bad. And yeah, thank God, and then, with Rocket Money, I don't have to worry about that.
Well, yeah, and then you just click and they're like handled. And you're like, I didn't even need to talk to anyone or a chat bot or anything. I mean, it's really great.
No phones necessary for Christine's phone anxiety.
It's about time. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features.
Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/drink. That's rocketmoney.com/drink. rocketmoney.com/drink. So I'm sure there are several other spirits here that we're not going to cover. I mean, there's literally, again, 700 enslaved people lived here.
Right.
Then there's the several relatives of the Ridgleys who grew up here or would visit often. The carpenter who drunk drove his horse. There's a lot of people
here. Sorry, if you see me, I'm
a phantom.
Trying to be...
A lady in white is walking through. Remember when we thought Junie was a lady?
Misgendering my cat. You
know what?
Asshole.
In the first 6 months of that cat's life, I was properly gendering the cat. So, back when Junie was a she, her.
I don't know about that. Remember when I told you on the podcast that Juniper was changing his pronouns and you were like, what the fuck?
Before me? Hang on.
Yeah. No, it was definitely after you. It was like, oh, you're changing your pronouns? Same with my cat.
He's a sweet little kitty cat. Oh my god, I have to tell you, Christine. You've
Yeah.
heard of Spark Paws, right?
No.
It's this is not an ad, by the way. I just love them.
That would be such a good segue, though.
such a
If
good
that
segue.
was an ad.
Junie is a paid actor.
Yeah.
No,
He
Spark
wishes.
Paws is a website where you can get matching like sweatshirts with your dog.
Stop it.
It's been on my radar for a very long time.
I can't believe you've never told me about this. I can't believe the world hasn't told me about this. Quite
I will tell
frankly.
you, I have bought sweatshirts from that place for myself and just didn't get the dog one because I don't have one. But I'll tell you, if you get one, sensory wise, the softest, butteriest, easily one of the softest sweatshirts I've ever owned. Yeah.
Okay, Spark Paws, are you listening? We'd love to work with you, I guess.
I only mention it because yesterday, Allison and I were out and we saw a dog and their owner in Spark Paws hoodies. So they were in tie-dye green hoodies together.
Come on.
And this little puppy dog was the sweetest little puppy I've ever seen in my entire life. He did the nose boops. He gave tiny little licks.
Oh my God.
He
oh my God,
immediately
oh my
flopped
God.
over and showed his tummy. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember thinking, life is worth the living. I just was like, he was just this sweetest little puppy. Oh, his name was Moose.
Oh God, that's a good name.
Anyway,
Well,
I saw
I'm looking
your
at their
cat.
Christmas lineup right now, so don't worry.
I'm not kidding. I promise you, you've never felt a softer sweatshirt. This is not an ad. I swear to God, it's not an ad. But like, it's really, if anyone wants a sweatshirt, whether or not you have a pet, as someone who has done this, please go get one because
I'm so intrigued. Okay.
it's a dream.
Yeah, there's a human hoodie and a dog hoodie. I love this. And they're having a sale, so let's get on it.
If we do ever do an ad for them, just know that it was because of this conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be way too outrageous if it was some other reason.
Okay. Where were we? Sorry, I saw your cat and then I thought about that little puppy. Oh,
now
man,
I can't
really
stop
got me
looking at
going.
other people's puppies. My lordy.
Let's see. Where were we? Oh, about the ghosts. I was about to really get into the ghosts. Okay. The first ghost I'm going to tell you about, her name is Priscilla. And she was one of the wives who lived in the house. She was married to a Charles. And one time there was a family member at the house and she heard a faint knocking at the door of the mansion, which I imagine the faint knocking of a mansion door is
because she's I was gonna say probably because she's 30 rooms away, but okay.
When she got to the door, I guess they didn't have fucking peepholes because she just opened the door for anyone.
Swung it on open.
And it was this like old frail woman in 1900 or 1800s garb, like a
and
gray
what year
dress.
was this?
I don't know. It said an 1800s garb as if that's supposed to be shocking. So let's say this was in the 1900s.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, was that
Was that scary?
Was that alarming?
Yeah,
Or
maybe that was actually
like,
like,
oh, hey, Doris, you know.
it was like, girl, you are ahead of your time with this dress.
Girl, we told you to stop dressing like that. You little harlot.
So they found this frail old woman, and I'm assuming old clothes.
Yeah.
Just staring at her and not saying a
Cool.
single thing.
That's nice.
The woman is like, do you want to come in? Are you okay? What's going on? And then the woman vanished.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
And I guess after enough descriptions, it's been discovered that this woman was Priscilla Ridgley, wife of Charles Ridgley. And people still see her in the mansion. I guess.
Oh my God. I thought Priscilla was the one opening the door. I'm so
No,
stupid.
sorry.
Okay.
No, I made that confused. No, Priscilla's the ghost. But I guess like a vampire, once she was invited in that one time, people now see her in the mansion all the time.
Well, what did you think was going to happen, people? You know, I told you not to open the door and you don't listen to me. And look what happens.
So people now see her in her either really old and ugly or really slamming 1800s dress.
Oh, man.
And she's heard, like, because it's a long dress, you can hear it like sweeping across the floor.
Oh.
Yuck.
That's freaky.
Another
Especially at
ghost.
night. Imagine like coming down the hallway. Forget
Just
it.
like close here, like this, everybody.
The Spark Paws hoodie is coming toward you. Glow in the dark edition.
We all know if I were a ghost, I would
God,
never
it
just
would
be
just-
a black shadow. I would
Your
be
fucking
glowing.
wardrobe would be so annoying. You'd be like in a different outfit every day, and then everyone would be like, "Is it the same ghost?" And I'd be like, "It is." I'm telling you.
I would be bioluminescent for sure.
Remember ADHD?
Yeah.
Ghosts can have it too.
I'm still waiting for someone to have a ghost of a shadow figure who forgets that he's naked in front of you and like has to like cover himself and then runs away.
Wasn't that a thing in the White House?
Oh, no. What you're thinking of is the guy who
Winston Churchill was like taking a bath or something?
he saw a ghost while he was in the bath. But I would like to see a ghost who forgot his ghost clothes.
Oh, and is like, not again.
And then we're both scared. You know,
right. Then I'm really scared. Yeah, that's true.
That ghost also has to go to bed not being able to stop thinking about me. Because I'm already not going to stop thinking about him. But now we're both traumatized.
You just flip the script. Yeah.
Okay. And here's, I think maybe
and
one
he
of
will
my
not be invited in, by the way. If he's standing there naked, I'm not gonna say, "Well, you want to come on in?" Like, no.
Yeah. Let me give you a towel.
People better listen to me. Don't open the door. If there's a nude man there, certainly don't invite him inside.
Oh my! Yes.
That's good advice, I think.
Famous words.
Thank you.
Another time in the 1920s or 1930s, we're unsure. There was a woman who I guess was a friend of the family, and she'd been told to stop by whenever she wants, or I think they knew that she liked historical homes.
Seems like something a lady would make up. Like, oh no, I know the family. They told me I can come anytime I want. Like, okay, lady.
Well,
get off
it
her
worked.
Property.
It worked.
I'm sure.
Because, and also this was the era where people just popped by,
That's
I guess.
true.
So
That's true.
I don't know.
The boundaries weren't quite there yet.
Part of me wishes we still popped by each other's houses, but then in actuality, I'm like, oh, never mind.
One time you said that in front of me and Blaze, and that night Blaze was like, "Is Em gonna come over to our house in the middle of the night?" And I was like, honestly, maybe. So
at this point, I have earned that.
Well, yeah. This was way at the beginning when Blaze was like, "So what's the deal?" And I was like, "It seems like Em is very serious about just occasionally popping by." So Blaze was like, "Okay."
And then you moved across the country.
I know. Well, maybe we should do a little puzzle piecing. Figure it out.
Well, I'm saying I think I scared you away. So
that's maybe it. Maybe not.
So she popped by, and this butler answered the door and said, "Oh, the family's not home," but he would give her a quick tour since I guess she'd gotten the initial okay from them.
He's a gullible fucking butler.
Well, so I guess he gave like really very insightful information about the property. He was telling her about the family and told her different stories about all of the Ridgleys that have lived here. And so when she tried to tip him, he refused to take it. And then days later, when she called to thank the family for like having such like a knowledgeable butler, they were like, "We don't have a butler."
I wish we had a butler, but we don't have a butler.
Can you imagine if it was just someone else who also broke in and now he has to like play the game?
But now I'd be worried there's a man in my house. But I guess maybe on that property, a ghost butler just makes sense.
I guess they the woman who had stopped by described the butler to them, and she said, "Oh my God, that was our last butler, Tom. He died 30 years ago."
Oh shit. He's still doing his job, man.
Yeah.
That's creepy. That's very creepy to be like get a whole tour from somebody.
Now that's an intrusive thought. I would be like, what if I am just
the rest of my life.
working mode for the rest of my life?
I would just be like, wow, okay, who's real, who's not?
Yeah, I really feel for Tom. I feel bad for him. In the 1800s, remember I said that one of the Ridgleys was a governor?
Yes.
So I guess he was friends with other governors, and one of his friends was this guy named Governor Swan. And Governor Swan had a daughter, which finally we can agree on the world's worst name.
Oh.
This is Cygnet, Cygnet.
Oh yeah, that's a name.
And I will say, this is a fun fact. I almost am wondering if this isn't her name and like the internet created it.
Oh.
Because their last name is Swan. Her first name is Cygnet, which apparently means young swan.
Yeah, that's a baby swan.
In my mind, I'm like, that's either really precious or people have just labeled her Cygnet as like Jane Doe.
Well, I wonder if that was just her nickname. Like she's just the baby swan. We call her Cygnet. I don't know.
Well, at some point, Cygnet contracts some sort of mysterious illness, probably TB. and the Ridgleys offer Cygnet to move onto the property because of all their open fields and fresh air.
Here, use this field.
Use this field. My wife is in the garden with her outhouse. If you
There's
need
so
help.
many outhouses. Don't worry.
One morning, apparently, she woke up after having a really bad dream where a man with a scythe was chasing her through a field, screaming that he was going to kill her. And by the way, a man with a scythe is the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, by the way.
To cheer her up, the family threw her a party. I like how they're like,
what?
I can't imagine having a bad dream and then Allison throws me a fucking party.
Oh my God.
They'd be like, okay, get over it. It's fine. You're right. You had a dream.
Yeah, I feel like that's an interesting reaction to have. I feel like I'd be like, but please don't throw me a party. I'm just had a bad dream. That's it. Like, please. Oh no, balloons again. Like, we don't need a party after every fucking bad dream I have.
Can you imagine if you then go to somebody else's house and you're like, oh, I had a bad dream. Sorry, please don't throw me a party. They'd be like, why would we throw you a party?
I wasn't planning on it, you weirdo.
Well, so anyway, she has a bad dream. They decide that they're going to throw a party. Maybe she was just inconsolable and they were like, we'll give you whatever you want. Shut the fuck up.
It could, if you stop talking about the man with the scythe, we'll throw you a party.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
So when people started arriving, Cygnet never came downstairs. And remember, she had that mysterious illness. As I cough. So that night, the woman who was throwing the party for them, for Cygnet, went upstairs to be like, hey, your friends are coming in, like, get ready, or are you coming downstairs soon? And they found Cygnet sitting at the vanity, holding her hairbrush, slumped over dead.
Oh no.
And so awkward ending to that party, having to go tell everyone time to go.
Oh no, and now you have to throw a party for all the people who are sad.
You know what? This actually might have been the largest funeral that the country had ever seen. It took a few generations, but we got there.
I'm not meaning to laugh, but like, oh my God, this is just that talk about this feels like a Modern Family episode, but like escalated. It like escalated out of control. Like, let's throw a party.
It would be Cam too. Cam would be
oh my God.
Dead at
so
the
many
vanity upstairs.
Foibles, and it's like, oh gosh, I mean, this is just ridiculous. And then they had to, oh man, all of this is just making me cringe a little bit. It just feels like a lot.
Well, to this day, people now see Cygnet in her room, in her dress, brushing her hair, like getting ready for her party.
That's okay. Well, that's really fucking sad.
People also hear music playing in her bedroom, and they don't know if it's like music she was listening to get ready, or maybe it was music that was playing downstairs when she passed. But people now hear harpsichord specifically music.
Oh, you're probably right that it's like music
connected to the story.
Yeah, that's sad.
Is a harpsichord the same as a harp?
No, a harpsichord I believe is like a piano.
Why wouldn't you just call it a fucking piano? Why would you call it? That's like saying I'm going to play the triangle. I call it guitar. Like what? We already have one of those. What are you talking about?
Okay, well, it's like a harp that's shaped like a piano. Like you hit the key and it like strums a harp instead of like. Okay, you know what? I don't know. Stop asking me questions.
Okay, yeah, I play the xylophone. I'm gonna call it the drum because it looks like a drum. But we haven't had one of those yet, so.
Oh God.
One person who had a specific encounter there was a former park ranger, because remember the park rangers are now in charge of this property. One like former park ranger, when he used to work there, I guess he was often the one that was requested to go check out the property after like someone had paranormal activity.
Oh,
which I love that
he
they're
didn't believe
denying.
in because he's the parks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they deny activity, but also they have like a man on the ground in case someone ever has a report.
I wonder if he's like the most staunchly anti-ghost one. So they're like, you go do it then, Bill. If you're so fucking convinced there's no ghosts, every time something happens, why don't you get on the ground and go check it out? And
or I would think it's the opposite.
He's like,
I would think it's the opposite, where like he's the only park ranger like desperate to talk about the ghost, and they're like, "Look, we'll throw you a bone. Just go fucking see if there's a ghost."
yeah. He's just the intern. He just wants to talk about ghosts, and they're like, "Just get out of the office."
Well, so when he worked there, he had to actually stay. They like hired him as like additional security one time for the house because a needlepoint exhibit was in town.
I mean, listen, I'm in.
And
Fuck yeah.
and so they needed security for the needlepoint exhibit.
There's a lot of sharp objects, Em. Come on.
You know what? You could get stabbed. Someone could.
And honestly,
could absolutely
imagine
stab
all these passionate ladies under one roof. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's their yarn will be flying for sure.
Things will go wrong. There's no yarn in needlepoint. Now, let's not be ridiculous.
Thread?
I think it's called thread. Now, I don't actually know what it's called, but I think actually, I'm not
yarn
kidding.
and
I'm
thread,
pretty sure
it's
called
like guitars
floss.
and harps, you know?
No, but I think it's actually called no, I'm serious. And you're going to think I'm making that up. Yeah.
We also already had floss. Why are we... So anyway.
Okay, but I think maybe we named floss after the thread kind.
Dental floss.
That's it. You nailed it. You got there. I didn't get it till that. Yes, dental floss.
Huh.
It's
so
like
would a harpsichord be like piano harp?
A harp piano or dental? Oh yeah, piano harp. Yeah. Or like dental dam. Well, okay, let's talk about something else now. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm thinking now. I'm thinking.
Okay, so he needed to be extra security, so he stayed at the mansion while it was having this exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
And so he stayed at the mansion. He was staying on the 3rd floor, and the room next to him had a bunch of hooks on the wall that were holding like old racehorse harnesses. The family was into racehorsing because, of course, they were.
Of course they were.
And I guess this is an actual quote from this park ranger. He said, "We had just laid down to attempt to sleep when I heard what sounded like footsteps entering the room next to ours. There was a sound as if someone had taken their hand and run it down the wall of horse harnesses, causing them to swing on the pegs.
Ooh.
This was followed by footsteps exiting the room." That feels like an older brother. Like they come in just to piss you off and then leave.
They're just like, touch your stuff. I touched everything, and then walk out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you heard
more
footsteps
like a
go
younger
in.
brother.
Yeah. You heard footsteps go in and then leave. And the only difference is that all your shit is being moved around.
Yeah.
Apparently,
or that like
the
they
sound,
licked it or something.
The park ranger heard the sound of these horse harnesses swinging around.
Jangling.
Jumped out of bed. He ran to the hallway and looked into the room, and the harnesses were still swinging on the hooks. And right after that, a grandfather clock, which had not worked in a century, began to chime.
Ew! Sorry, that was so loud. Oh, that's unpleasant.
So he was like, fuck that, and he left. Other than that, doors, of course, open and close, latch and unlatch. The apparently latches lifting is like a big thing there. That happens a lot. People will hear chains hitting walls, which...
Oh, maybe it's that horse harness thing.
Maybe it is.
Racehorse thing.
Apparently the bar that, like the iron bar that opens the Great Hall is heard opening itself. So like the Great Hall just, I guess, opens itself up for the ghosts.
For this poor security guard, he's like, the needle pointers, it's not even about them anymore.
You know what? Maybe that's why they need more security, because now there's like new energy in the house or something.
Yeah, and things keep opening and yeah.
But the park rangers would never admit that, of course.
No, of course not. That would be ridiculous.
So and then one time, this was like a major thing, is that a display rack got knocked over, but apparently not just knocked over, but everything like flew off of this display rack. The entire room was a mess after this display rack had finally been perfectly pieced together, and then every item just went flying across.
What could that be?
I don't know. Another little brother move for sure.
Yeah, like this starting to tee me right off,
Frickin' TO'd.
Frickin' TO'd is what I'll tell you. Yes.
One especially weird thing is that people have heard the sound of a chandelier crashing when there's no chandelier, or there's no chandelier crashing at the very least, but people will hear it smashing to the ground. And when that's heard, apparently it's a bit of a harbinger for death. It's a bit of an omen, because anytime someone has heard a chandelier crashing, it predicts the upcoming death of the wife of the owner of the house.
Of like the current owner.
Of the current owner. Can you imagine, like, every time the chandelier rattled at all, you'd go, oh my God. Like,
oh my God, imagine an earthquake comes through and you're like, this is the end. Lord. Oh, Lord.
Apparently, one of the wives heard the crash and within 24 hours was dead.
So you hear it too, like as the wife, you would hear it.
I guess she heard it, yeah. I don't know. It seems like there were like the source I read, if I'm reading it correctly, it sounds like this happened to 5 of the wives of 7 generations.
Whew, that's got to be unsettling every single time. Yeah.
So yeah, I can't. I would just be like, get rid of all the chandeliers.
I'd be like, I know a loophole. It's called "Let's not get married, but pretend we're married." Then they can't kill me.
How about you buy me a different mansion and I'll live there alone?
Yeah,
away from you?
I'll live in the outhouse for a few years until we're past this.
And part of me is like, is that supposed to be scary, or is that like some ghost being like a homegirl being like, just wanted to give you a heads up, it's coming,
Right.
but like we're
my God.
watching.
Is it the guy with the scythe and he like cut the chandelier down with his
Oh
scythe?
shit.
Wait, and then remember she
maybe.
saw the scythe guy and then she died. What's her
That's
name?
true, yeah. And she was just a little girl too.
Oh my gosh.
Her name was Cygnet. I could never forget it. Don't worry.
That's right. I knew that.
What was her name? It's
Okay,
it
but I'm
means
gonna feel
bird.
so sad if there's a Cygnet out there listening and feels like we are bullying their name, because I think it's a cute name. I'll be on
That's
the
great
side
for
of
you.
Cygnet. It's great for me. If there is someone out there named Cygnet, I want you to know out there that I actually do like the name. And if you're a Scorpio, I'm also fine with that. I feel like I need
Wow,
to
that's a
make
lot
you.
of.
I need to make you
You
understand
have
that.
something brown on your nose, Christine. That's weird.
No, I know, but it's like I have to balance out all the
I will say the one
hatred
thing
that you bring to the table.
the one thing I liked about the name Cygnet is when written out, it looks like the word cyber, and I do
No, it
like that.
doesn't.
The CY, my first thought is I want to pronounce it like cyber.
I guess, yeah.
You know
It
what?
has two
I'm
of the
sorry.
same
You're
letter.
right.
It has two.
I'm wrong. Therefore, there's actually 0 reasons why I like the name. How about that?
Well, now who's brown nosing? Oh, well, it looks like cyber. Okay, sure.
That was my first thought when I first saw it. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And then I heard it was pronounced Cygnet, and I went, "Oh, never mind." So
Never mind. I don't like it anymore.
when one of the owners of the house, one of the Charles, when he was out of town, so the chandelier sound didn't happen for him, but when he died and he was not actually in the home, he died somewhere else. The
Right.
caretaker of the house found out about his death because they heard the sound of a phantom carriage coming home, and they heard bells on the carriage. They heard horses running up to the house as if the coach was approaching. And when they looked out the
What?
window, they saw nothing. Nobody was nearby. But the next day, they heard of Charles' death. So it sounds like the women get like preemptively warned, but then
Right.
at least one of the owners of the house still found a way to let them know that he had died.
Jeez, I mean, it really feels like there's a lot of like Grim Reaper energy at this place. Like they're always kind of like letting you know that death is lurking. You know, like
Yeah.
it's just
You're never
creepy.
alone.
Yeah.
And of course, the Park Service claims that it's not haunted. One of them literally, when asked by a reporter, said, "We don't discuss it." So sounds like they actually do think it's haunted, and they just don't
It
want
seems
to
like they
admit
can't.
it. So
Yeah, they probably can't avoid it at a certain point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is the Hampton House.
That is something else. The omens of death are, I don't know, give me a little bit of the creeps, but would you want to know that you were about to die? I guess it's a stupid question. I don't know.
I think about that all the time. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would certainly ruin my quality of life while I had
Yes, for the
because I would be
last.
such a fucking mess all the time.
Yes.
Even if I had only one piece of information, like, oh, this is how you die, then I'd be terrified of every moment
Gosh.
I was near that thing.
I
you know?
totally agree. I don't think that talk about intrusive thoughts. That's a lot of people's intrusive thoughts. Like, what's going to kill me? So I think maybe it's top. You're probably right. It's probably safer to not even go there.
I will say I have intrusive thoughts about or what my version of it, I guess. I've told you about this before, I think, but my therapist has told me about that I am constantly in a state of pre-grief because I am
good. That sounds really bad.
but I think that's one of the reasons why, like, when people pass away, I like have like a really weird reaction to it. Like I don't seem to respond the same way people do, and I think it's
Yeah.
because I'm always constantly like prepared for it to happen, and then when it
Yeah.
does, I'm like, okay, that's exactly what I saw coming. But I'm so like and I guess in that way that's an intrusive thought because I am constantly assuming
Mhm.
when I see people, I'm like, oh, this is the last time for sure. Like
Yeah.
I'm always thinking that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, people
That's
look up
how
pre-grief because it's rocking my shit right now.
well, I gotta look that up later because I'm having some tummy aches now. Okay. Uh, I have a story for you today. This is the story of Sarah Lee Stern, and it takes place in Neptune City, New Jersey. And it is on the Jersey Shore, your favorite
I
place
love
in the
her.
world. And besides the Hamptons.
Look, I'm a Gemini, okay? We have
I
a lot of
know.
things going
It's
on.
just Sarah and her parents, Carla and Michael Stern, were well known and well liked in town. Sarah was just like every other kid in town, very happy, very social, kind of like they described the town. I listened to the Dateline episode, so when I say they, I mean Keith Morrison described the town as like a picturesque little village. I don't know how he did it, but he basically said like all the kids, would go to each other's houses for pool parties and talk about like just dropping by. This seems like this
Mm,
kind of neighborhood. Okay.
love it.
So all the kids knew each other, etc. And one of her best friends was her neighbor, Carly Draper. So Sarah was passionate and creative. She was an artist. So by seventh grade, there was this boy named Liam McAtasney who had transferred to Sarah's school, and they immediately bonded. And Liam became one of Sarah's best friends. And fun fact, Liam had a twin brother named Seamus. So very Irish, I'm assuming.
How do
With
you
a
say
name
that
like that.
Seamus with the last name?
Oh, Seamus McAtasney. Yeah.
It's like
It's like an MC, a
that's
Mc.
a one search only on Facebook. I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's an easy stalk on cyber stalking situation.
That's what everyone hopes
Um,
for when you're dating a toxic boy. It's like, oh, let me see.
yes.
Let me just do one quick
Let,
Goog.
it's not a Smith, is it? Can't be a Smith. I don't have time for that today. I have things to do. So in high school, Liam became close with another one of Sarah's best friends named Preston Taylor. So Sarah was an athlete. She played softball and some other sports, but she was more drawn to the arts. She always loved visual arts, but in high school she became really into drawing and photography, and she had just like sketchbooks upon sketchbooks of colorful illustrations. And she would go out into nature with her camera, and like that thing we would do back in like the 2000s, which is so cringy, and I feel bad that I'm even talking about it because I imagine that she's probably cringy about it, but like where you'd like set a timer on your digital camera and then like take a photo
Oh
of
yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
she did that kind of thing, like self-portraits, probably a lot artsier than mine were. And unfortunately, well, I will also add that I got this little tidbit from the Dateline as well that her dad described her as a miracle child because his wife believed she could not get pregnant, and so when Sarah came along, they were like totally shocked and excited and thrilled, and so Carla gave birth to Sarah, and this was their miracle baby. But when Sarah was 16 in 2013, her mother died of cancer. And so this
Mm.
was really hard. But despite her grief, instead of like turning inward like a lot of people do, she kind of went outward and started like reaching out to people and getting close with her grandma and, trying to forge bonds where her mother had, once been when she was alive. She often told her friends she practiced something called reckless optimism, which I just like the sound of that. She called it the unapologetic hope that things will work out, even when it may seem naive to others. And
Mm.
she had that kind of theme throughout her artwork as well. And when she graduated from Neptune High School, she began studying at Brookdale Community College and lived at home with her dad and her beloved dog, Buddy. In her free time, she kept making art. She would still hang out with all her childhood friends from town. Liam and Preston also stayed nearby after high school, and the two of them actually moved into an apartment together. And so everyone was still kind of in this like tight knit circle, even though they had graduated from high school. But as the years went on, Sarah and Sarah's friends and her dad kind of started to notice that she was getting restless, like in the small town, and she went up to Toronto for VidCon and got to meet Jenna Marbles.
Mm.
And after, I know, the dream. And then after that, she fell in love. This sounds familiar. With Canada. And really wanted to move to Toronto.
I thought you were gonna say fell in love with Jenna Marbles. And I was like, I
mean,
get
it
it.
sounds like she was already in love with Jenna Marbles. She's a step ahead of us. They got to give each other a hug.
Ugh, so jealous.
If only. But yeah, she became really into the idea of possibly moving to Canada, someday.
Sure.
And she didn't necessarily have the plans yet. Her dad was like, "You're still figuring things out." And she was like, "I know, Dad, but like this is my plan."
You don't understand me.
You don't get it.
I didn't take a timed selfie enough in Canada for
Yeah.
you to understand.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it. Okay. Jenna and I are great friends and maybe lovers now, and I'm moving up to Canada. Oh gosh. Okay. So anyway, she wanted to make sure that when she went to Canada, which she really planned to do, that she had the money for it. And like she just didn't have that yet, being 19 years old. So Sarah's family owned a second property, and one day Sarah was over at the other house and she was just going through like her mom's old stuff and kind of like some nostalgic stuff, and she found a shoebox full of cash.
Okay.
This box had tens of thousands of dollars in it.
Oh my God. How
Yes.
big can a box, how small can a box be and still have thousands of dollars in it?
Well, it sounds like a shoebox. So
I wonder how many bucks, like if you took the biggest buck, like $100 bill, how many fit in a shoebox? And then that's how much money you can fit in a shoebox.
well, it depends on what size shoe you are.
Okay, you're right. Well,
That's
no, most,
another
I feel like there's a standard shoebox size, right? Or no?
I mean, maybe, but I'm sure some like a size 11 probably different than, I mean, maybe not.
You know, I just always forget that.
Or if you're buying boots versus like combat
you're
boots
right.
versus heels or flats,
You're
some
right,
of them
you're
are
right.
skinny. I don't know.
In my mind, it's like a Converse shoebox, but
How many bills fit in a, oh my God, let's see what people asked. A money gun, a wallet, a briefcase. That's an interesting one.
Oh, that is
How many
interesting.
bills fit in a shoebox? Oh, people have asked this. Okay. Oh, 7,400 bills.
7,400. 7,400. So then add 2 zeros, so that's 740,000.
74. Wait. Yeah, you're right. What? Really?
Wow, you could have literally almost $1 million in a shoebox in bills. That's crazy.
This is literally a New York Times article. 7,400 bills fit in shoebox, a detective proves in court.
Hell yeah. All right.
Can you imagine, though, sitting there and he's like, 1, 2, 7,400.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
74 hands. 7,400. Boom, boom. Yeah, 740,000.
Jesus
Three
God.
zeros. Holy
Okay,
shit.
so a lot.
So
a lot.
if someone ever tells you they found $1 million in a shoebox, they are lying.
$1 million. Yeah, then they're lying.
Just so you
Then
know.
or they're exaggerating, or they bought some nice winter boots and have a bigger shoebox than most people.
Right. Yeah, they have to have a very specific shoebox. Okay.
Right. Okay, cool. Anyway, oh my God, here's a YouTube video it's suggesting now. Will $1 million fit in a Nike shoebox? Find out. Okay.
Can you
so
imagine having $1 million and then also running a YouTube account where you just pull all that money out of your bank and then go fit it in a fucking shoebox?
Okay, I think it's probably not a real $1 million. I'm assuming that they're just like the size and weight
I see.
of them.
I was like, that feels like a Mr. Beast or something where it's like, here's a.
I love it. Does I know, but like, oh my God,
Sorry, I think like a 12-year-old
you
boy
would be that
apparently where I'm like,
teenager. I know you
"Whoa."
would be that teenager. It's like, holy crap, he has $1 million. I should sign up for his online course on how to be an influencer. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he needs my money.
For only 16 payments of my mom's credit card, I can learn. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm so sorry. Rewind. Okay, so anyway, she wants to move to Canada. One day, she's just at her parents' other house. Remember, her mom has passed of cancer when Sarah was 16. She's at her parents' other property, and she finds this shoebox amongst her mother's old stuff, and it looks like her mom had been hiding some cash. Not hiding, but like kind of just
Putting
saving
it aside.
Yes, putting it aside for her daughter.
Would you take
And-
it? Like if you didn't know it was for you and it was just your dead mom's in a house that no one lives in?
Yeah.
I would take it too.
I mean, if it were in a box that my mom's stuff and she was dead, I'd be like, okay, this is mine now.
Yeah, I would do it too. Yeah.
I mean, unless there's like some reason not to, but I mean, I wouldn't like go buy I wouldn't like go put it in another shoebox or like put it on YouTube, but I would probably put it in a bank or something. I don't know.
Okay, cool.
Or I'd like make a TikTok like I just found the craziest thing inside my walls, you know.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
I don't know. What would you do? You take it.
I would
We'd have
obviously I would make a YouTube channel, and I would try to put it in a shoebox and film it for a bunch of 12-year-old boys.
Honestly, it sounds like that might be a really good plan.
I mean, it would work.
Um,
It would certainly work for me.
it seems like it's effective. Okay. So anyway, she's itching to move to Canada, and then all of a sudden she finds like 20 grand. Okay. So like, holy crap. So the money itself actually ended up being like very brittle. And so, which is like a thing I never really thought about, but I guess over the years it had really worn down. And so some of the
Mm.
money like disintegrates when you touch it, apparently.
Holy
This money
shit,
she found.
wow.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought that, especially when, like, isn't it, like, kinda made with, like, cotton or
See,
something in the paper?
you'd think, right? Like fabricy. Yeah, I thought it. Yeah, I don't. So
Hmm,
I don't know. Maybe it was like stored in like an attic or something, or got flooded.
weird.
Like who knows? I don't know. But yeah, so she found this money and she decided to put it in a safety deposit box at a local bank. She actually called her aunt Linda, interestingly enough, right away when she found it, and said like, "Hey, I found like mom's money, all this money." And her aunt told Sarah to keep it a complete secret and to never tell another person about it.
That's a good aunt. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah. So Sarah spent a few $1,000s and then she put the rest in a safety deposit box at a local bank, and she kept one key and then the bank had the second key. And you needed like I think most banks you need both keys in order
Okay.
to access, because you need somebody to come with you with the second key, or you need to use the second key to open the box. And then when she was ready to leave home, the money would be there for her when she went up to Canada. And in the meantime, life just went on as usual. And I will add right now, she did not tell her dad that she had found this money.
Okay.
In late 2016, Sarah's dad was actually vacationing in Florida with his new wife. And apparently, which I think is pretty sweet. Her name's Christine, which is also pretty sweet. But
Mhm.
apparently, Sarah and Christine really got along. And Christine said she lost her mom when she was young, like around the same age. And so they really bonded. And I thought that was very sweet. But so Sarah's dad and his wife were in Florida, and he was feeling a little bit on edge because Sarah's grandma had texted or called him and told him she hadn't heard from Sarah all day. So Michael started texting Sarah, being like, "Hey, please call me the second you see this. Why is your phone off?" And she just wasn't responding. In the middle of the night, 3 a.m., his phone rings. Again, he's on
Oh
vacation
god.
in Florida, but like he lives in New Jersey. And so he answers the phone, and all he hears on the other line is this man. And he says, "Did Sarah drive the Oldsmobile or whatever?" It was this Oldsmobile that belonged to her grandmother. Was she known to drive it? And Michael said, "Yeah, she occasionally drove it." They fucking hung up on him. This was the police calling. They basically were calling to see if they asked him, "Was your daughter known to drive her grandmother's car?" And remember, her grandmother is the one who's been texting him all day saying, "I haven't heard from her."
Right.
Well, they find this car, police find this car on the side of the road. By the
Mhm.
way, the dad has to call the police station back to figure out A, who called him, and B, what was going on, because they just were like, "We have a question for you," and then hung up. And so he calls
Ugh.
back. And of course, as the line picks up, it says this is the whatever county police department. And he went, "Oh shit." They were the ones calling asking about if my daughter drove her grandma's car. Turns out the
Ugh.
reason they asked is because they had actually found an abandoned car on the side of the bridge on Route 35, which went across Shark River. And basically, feet from the car is just this steep drop into the river. They found it there in the middle of the night. An Uber driver actually called police and just said, "Hey, there's this abandoned car here." So they sent out a car to check, and the key was in the ignition and the car was working just fine. So it wasn't an issue of the car breaking down. But the owner was nowhere in sight. And when they
Wow.
ran this Oldsmobile, they found out that it was this grandmother, this 90-something-year-old lady in town. And when they called her, she
Mhm.
said, "Oh, my granddaughter Sarah borrowed the car from me today, and I
Ugh.
haven't heard from her all day."
Wow.
So now they're calling everyone they can think of to try and contact friends and family. Nobody seemed to know where Sarah was. Michael, at that moment, 3 a.m., when he got this phone call, he and Christine got in the car and started driving home. It was like a 17-hour drive. They just started booking it home.
Oh my god.
and Christine drove while basically he was just frantically on his phone the whole time trying to get a hold of Sarah. So the police searched Sarah's house, but nobody was home, and they already started to feel pretty concerned that something was wrong. In the footage from police body cameras, when they entered Sarah's house through an unlocked door, one of them said, I want to make sure we don't have a jumper.
Oh
So they
God.
were very worried that this was some sort of suicidal, situation, and they didn't know if they were able to find clues in her house and see maybe like if they could find a journal or something that would tell them if she was having these kind of ideations.
Yeah.
But pretty soon they were able to talk to Robin Draper. And I know I mentioned her very briefly, but Carly is her best friend and she lives next door. And Carly's mom is Robin Draper. And they're also neighbors. They're like
Mhm.
childhood friends. So Robin comes outside, is like, what's going on? They tell her all they found inside the house was Buddy, Sarah's dog, who was still locked in his crate.
Oh,
And she was like, well, that's weird. Buddy has free roam of the house, even when Sarah's not home. So I don't know why he
shit.
would be
So
in his crate.
home invasion.
So the police are like, what is going on? When is the last time you talked to Sarah? And she said, actually, yesterday afternoon. And they said, okay, what was the context of that? Apparently, Sarah had come over to the Draper's house, her friend Carly's house, with Liam, her friend Liam, and she was carrying like a box of stuff, just like her mother's items, packed into these bins. And she asked if she could store some of her mother's stuff at the Draper's house. And they were like, I guess, sure. I don't know why you would want to store your mom's stuff at our house. Like,
Yeah.
instead of just where it already was at your house. It was just strange. And at first, because it was just kind of like trinkets and like sentimental stuff, the police were worried because they're thinking, oh gosh, like, was she giving away her nostalgic stuff
Right, because
in
she was
preparation
yeah.
for a suicide attempt? And so there was this big red flag immediately. And they asked Robin, you can like hear this interview on Dateline. They asked Robin if Sarah had seemed depressed. And Sarah had known Robin, or Robin had known Sarah rather, for her basically her entire life. So she has a pretty good like grip on Sarah's behavior and mood. And she said, yeah, actually, it's possible. Sarah was pretty down lately and has been kind of struggling. But she also said there's something wrong about the dog, though. I don't think she would have just left him in his crate if
Mhm.
she was planning this ahead of time. Like
Yeah.
something just seems wrong.
She would have absolutely made sure the dog was okay.
That somebody was with the dog or that yeah, exactly. There was some sort of plan for the dog. So if the police never came, Buddy could have died, right in this crate before she got back. It just did not track. And so it just seemed impossible, especially with Michael out of the state, like her dad in Florida. It just seemed impossible. But if she had been in some sort of mental health crisis, right? Like, we don't know. I mean, you can't necessarily imagine that you'll be as logical as you want to be when you're in a state of crisis. And so it's very possible perhaps she made a wrong judgment call. Perhaps she forgot about the dog and went forward with her plan anyway. You know, there's no way to say for sure, black or white, that it's not a possibility. So they kept it on the table. Now, about 4 a.m., the police arrived at the apartment where Liam lived with Preston because she had been with Liam earlier in the day when she went to the neighbors and brought all of her mother's stuff over.
Mhm.
So they went to Liam's house. Liam let them in, and he said, yep, I saw Sarah Friday afternoon. We went and got lunch at Taco Bell and hung out, and then I went to work. So the police asked Liam about Sarah's like mindset when they hung out, and Liam was like, well, she seemed extremely stressed. And he told police that Sarah had been talking about getting away and like something about Canada, but he wasn't really sure. And he also said that Sarah had a volatile relationship with her dad. And he
Mm.
described her dad as unstable and emotionally abusive, using the term actually crazy. So now investigators were like, oh, well, maybe there's some optimism here. Maybe she didn't jump off the bridge. Maybe she left her car there as kind of a distraction and then took off to Canada. Maybe that was her plan all along. And
Right.
if she were fleeing an abusive situation, for example, she might have felt like she wasn't safe to tell anyone where she was going. And perhaps
No, that
that
totally
is
makes
why,
sense.
why she left town with no word to anyone. It would also make sense that she asked the Drapers to store things in their house if she couldn't trust her dad to watch the stuff she cared
Right.
about, right?
Totally.
So now they're thinking, okay, well, maybe somebody else she knows, she's friends with, knows about these plans and can help us locate her. So Liam was like, I don't know. I'm one of her closest friends and she didn't confide in me, so I don't know who else to turn to.
Right.
So police were like, all right, well, we'll just basically ask everyone in this small town. So they start questioning Sarah's other friends, and they all agreed that Sarah never spoke of like a long distance relationship up there, like never spoke of like a friend, a pen pal she had that she was going to like move in with temporarily. There was just nobody they could think of that would like be there in Canada with her. But they had heard her talk about trying to get to Canada eventually. So they were like, I guess that's possible. She'd always seemed pretty uninterested in dating, and even though she went to prom with her friend Preston, who lives with Liam, Preston and Sarah's other friends were like, it was not romantic, like they just went as friends. But Liam mentioned that Sarah tended to date women and that he noticed she sometimes became obsessed with her ex-girlfriends. And so
Uh-oh.
now they're thinking, oh, geez, is there like a love romance gone wrong situation happening? And he further explained that once she had had an argument with a woman named Maggie and became really manipulative. And Liam said that Sarah told Maggie, if you don't come over right now, I'm going to kill myself. So he's telling all these
Ugh.
things to the officers, and they're going, oh, geez, like this could go any of a number of ways. Like this could go really bad or like more hopeful. We don't know. He said there could sometimes be self-destructive tendencies that she had. She had recently been fired from her job, which is, a big stressor when mental health crises come into play.
Yeah.
And he worried that maybe she had hurt herself, but he didn't want to believe that. So now they're thinking, oh geez, like maybe there was a bad breakup. Maybe her father didn't treat her well because she wasn't straight. Like maybe she had a secret relationship she couldn't share with people. Maybe she went with that person to Canada. Who knows? So police then asked Preston, the roommate and Sarah's other friend, what he thought happened to Sarah, and he said, I think she jumped. And when they asked why, he said he was really worried that she had died by suicide because of the stories he had heard about her dad.
Wow.
So police are questioning Sarah's social network. Meanwhile, her dad is like booking it up from Florida, and they set up this massive air and sea search, and rescue boats, recovery divers, they're scouring the Shark River for any sign of Sarah. Helicopters are looking from above. Apparently, this was one of the biggest searches in Jersey Shore history, and this was in 2016, so, relatively recent. There were 2 cameras on the Route 35 bridge, but police, of course, discovered they were non-functional, so there was no way to see what had happened on the bridge, which
Of
is just so
course.
infuriating, because how easy would that be to just rewind and
I
take a
know.
look? Oh, it's so
It's
infuriating.
it's almost as if that's what it was made for.
It's almost as if that's the point of it, yeah. They searched along every route from Sarah's house to the bridge to see if anyone else had like seen or captured footage of her on their doorbell or some other way. But they just could not quite figure out. They did find one camera at a neighbor's house that faced Sarah's driveway, and they watched Liam leave for work. And then hours later, Sarah left in her car. So it was like, that's all that they could tell.
Okay.
They put together a timeline and determined that Sarah drove to the bridge just before midnight. And that was several hours before authorities responded to the Uber driver who called and said, I found this abandoned car. So there were basically at several hours where they don't know what took place between like midnight and like 2.
But her driving to the bridge kind of confirms or validates their suspicion that maybe it was suicide.
Because the car was not broken down. It was fully functional. The keys were
Right.
in the ignition, and there was
They
just
just
no
see her
sign of
driving
her.
to a bridge, and they're like, okay, well, that's
And that's the last trace of her.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the Shark River went right into the ocean. And the scary thing is, if the tide pulls you out, within hours, you could be in the ocean and never found again. So, they're searching and hoping they can find anything, any clue, or I guess also hoping they don't find anything. But the bad news is, like, even if they don't find anything, because it feeds out into the ocean, there's no way to know, whether that's what happened or not. And now they're thinking, well, okay, hopefully what happened is she ran away and somebody picked her up on the bridge, and maybe, they met and then she hopped in their car and then kept driving. That's a possibility. If only we had a camera to look at. Anyway, on December 6th, Sarah's family organized. I like how I say that when like we're filming stuff and we always like forget to turn our cameras on or our audio on. I'm like, who am I kidding? Like the number of times I've forgotten to record when I'm intentionally trying to record, I have no room.
That's true, but none of our episodes like solve a murder.
Okay, fair point. I'm waiting for the day one does, but so far, no, you're right.
And it'll be the one where we forgot to film. So
you're not even kidding. That's actually so true. Oh gosh. Okay. So on December 6th, by the way, her dad comes home, basically finds the house full of people trying to figure out where his daughter went. He's basically in shock. He's trying to figure out what happened. And on December 6th, Sarah's family gets together and they organize their own search effort. And hundreds of people from Neptune and nearby communities gather, people who knew her, people who didn't, people from her high school. And Liam and his twin, Seamus, joined Sarah's other friends on the streets of Neptune City, just looking anywhere and everywhere, putting up flyers, trying to figure out if they can find any clue of where she had been and what she had done. And while they were searching, police got a tip from her cousin, who had been contacted by the assistant manager of the bank where Sarah kept her money in a safety deposit box. He told Sarah's cousin that Sarah stopped at the bank just hours before she disappeared.
Oh, so that girl did not die.
The police opened her safety deposit box and found just over $25,000 inside.
Okay.
Strange.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be empty.
Yeah, that put another wrench in their whole theory. They were like really old bills, like I was saying, but they weren't like totally unusable. So it's not like she just left the ones that were like decrepit. A lot of them would have still been fine to use. So they were confused why she wouldn't have taken $25,000 with her.
Right.
The police had also found Sarah's passport, her social security card, and US and Canadian currency in her bedroom. So she didn't take the Canadian currency she had collected.
Right.
It was also difficult to imagine that Sarah ran away to start a new life without all of this stuff and then without a car and not knowing who would have taken her there. So it's starting to add up like, uh-oh, maybe that's not as feasible as we had thought.
Right.
But detectives also reviewed footage from the bank's cameras. And so they looked and they did see indeed that she went to the bank and she was smiling, looked like she was in a good mood. The assistant manager said she seemed normal, happy. And, this is a small town. So he knew Sarah pretty well. And he knew like enough, he had met her enough times to be able to say, oh, she seemed perfectly fine.
So it wasn't like she was like being held hostage and like forced to go into the bank and take money out.
No, apparently, like to the point where they were such close family friends that as she left, they like blew each other a kiss and said, "Love you." Like they were
she's totally
that
fine.
close of friends. And he said nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She seemed just perfectly happy. But investigators did notice something very out of place when they were going through the footage, and they noticed a shot of Sarah's car that came into frame very briefly outside. And they were like, "Who is in the car with her? There's somebody in there." And I can only imagine they went, enhance, like they do on CSI, and it just happens. But no, they were able to look at it and realize the person in the car with her was Liam.
They were together earlier that day, right?
They had been together, but then they saw Liam leaving her house, and then they saw her leaving the house. And he had a shift, so this would have been like after his work shift, I assume.
So they got back together.
It seems like it is what they're figuring out, because if she went to the bridge around midnight and they had Taco Bell at 2 and then he went to work, it seems like after his shift they got back together is what it's seeming like. And the reason this is odd is not because they're friends or anything or hanging out, but because Liam did not mention that when they had interviewed him. He said, I saw her at lunch.
I wondered, like, when it was when he was the first person that was answering all their questions, and he was like, "Oh, but Preston, like she went to homecoming with Preston." And like I feel like, I don't know. I was like, why is he getting kind of overlooked? Maybe it's because he's being really helpful and giving information. So
which one? Sorry, which one?
Liam. He was like one of the first people that the police talked to, and I think maybe because he was just being helpful, they like overlooked him. But I remember thinking like she was literally with a guy. Isn't the whole thing that you ask the most recent man near a woman? Anyway. It's okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So they asked, when did you see her last? He said, oh, lunch. And then I went to work. And right now that they're kind of looking at the footage and seeing him again, they're like,
Mhm.
Well, that's strange. Why wouldn't you say that, you know? Again and again, Liam had repeated the same timeline of events from Taco Bell, blah, 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 playing video games at Sarah's house, then leaving for work. And he never mentioned going to the bank with her. So now they go and ask, and he says, oh, I have no idea what Sarah did inside the bank. I didn't think it was important to bring up. Okay.
Mhm.
Strange. So this is a huge red flag in his story, and it raised concerns among the detectives, obviously. But they might not have proved anything at all if it weren't for another tip from Sarah's high school classmate, Anthony Curry.
That Liam's in love with her.
That Liam's in love with her? No. But
Oh.
interesting plot twist. Like Sarah, Anthony was an artist, and he was voted most likely to become famous in their high school class.
Oh, wow.
And he had actually moved to New York and was directing films with friends and a lot of horror movies. And he spent a lot of time writing, just a very, filmmaker type. And Liam, his friend, was sometimes involved in Anthony's creative projects, so they would spend time together. Anthony contacted the police once he'd heard about Sarah's disappearance because he had a very, 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 very bad feeling about a conversation he and Liam had had several months ago.
What?
Liam had proposed a fun plot for a film to
I was going
Anthony.
to say, you said horror film. I was like, what did he do?
Keith Morrison ate that shit up. He was like his own sort of horror. Was this a horror film that he
Was
created?
this
Or was
the
just
pitch for a horror movie? Was he creating a crime so that he could then film a film about the crime he committed for the film?
Should I take my shirt off? Wait,
Yeah. Oh.
I didn't mean to say that out loud.
And then
Sorry,
Zach
that's
Bagans is like
Zachary.
behind the teleprompter.
Yeah. Oops. So anyway, Liam had proposed a fun film drama plot, okay, to Anthony, and the plot included a murder. And when he's like, okay, go on, Liam says, okay, well, it's about killing this woman and then dropping her body off the Shark River Bridge to stage a suicide. And once Sarah disappeared, guess what? Liam reached out to Anthony again and said, have the police talk to you? And it was that moment that
Immediately.
Anthony went, oh, fuck. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. Because when he first talked to his friend that he'd known since first grade, he was like, oh, well, he's just trying to be like,
Come up with an
he's just
idea.
I'm sure if you're like a filmmaker, all your high school friends are always pitching ideas, right? Like it
Especially
seems
if
like
you're
something
a horror filmmaker. You're like,
exactly.
you're supposed to come up with some
exactly.
twisted things and pitch them. Yeah.
So he kind of just like brushed it off. But then when the disappearance happened and he remembered his friend telling him this like murder plot, and then he realized, wait, Liam's friends with her. And also then Liam called him and said, have the police talked to you yet? He was like, ah, fuck. So actually he called his dad and was like, I need help. I need advice. And his dad was like, we are calling the police right now.
Yeah.
So they call the police and they bring Anthony in from New York, and they basically ask him, like his own personal horror film, to put on a wire and go undercover and try and get Liam to talk.
Beautiful.
Yes. And they set up this sting operation, and they wire up the car. They put cameras in there. They wire him up. January 31st, 2017, Anthony drove to meet with Liam under the pretense of asking Liam to borrow money for a new camera. So they played the clip of, which is so crazy. They play the clip of him talking to Liam, and like, obviously we know he's like wired and like the police are listening, but he sounds so chill. And I'm listening to this like, are you serious right now? Like he is wired up talking to a potential murderer and also one of his closest friends, and he's just like, yeah, man, like whatever.
But he's in the movie world. Maybe he's an actor.
I know. I was like, this is amazing.
Actor. Yeah.
An actor, no less. And apparently, which I thought was very creative, I don't know if they said the police helped him write a script or wrote up a script for him. I like to think he went a little off script because apparently he explained that one of his cameras broke because he dropped it in a bucket of fake blood. And so, the police were like, that was not one of the lines. Come on. But he asked, and he said, you can spot me right from that girl's money. And kind of hinted like, because I know there's something there, and I know you have money because you were talking about killing someone and taking the money and staging it like a suicide, and I've kind of hinting at it.
Yeah.
So Anthony and Liam are in the car, and first of all, which is like really distressing and apparently made the police basically poop their pants is that Anthony goes, "Well, let me check you for a wire first."
Oh my god.
And he's like, "Okay, man, whatever." And I'm like, "How are you so chill?" Like, I'd be freaking the fuck out. And so you
So
can
wait,
hear him getting patted down, but he doesn't catch the wire. Like, he just doesn't like find it.
he should. Oh wow. Okay.
He just
Wow.
missed it.
You know that as chill as he's being in his head, he was like, "Oh my god, I
This
can't
is
believe
it.
it. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my
This
god.
is
Oh my
it.
god."
And police were like, "Oh, that was not part of the plan." But yeah, he checked him, and you can hear him. He says, "Dude, you can't blame me for doing this, right? I gotta feel you up, bro, real quick. No disrespect, no homo."
No homo.
Just like
Which
so
like
embarrassing.
I am surprised in 2024 there's not a wireless wire. Like
Well, it was 2016. I don't know if that makes a difference to you or not, but
I'm still surprised with all of our technology that like there's a literal wire that needs to.
I mean,
It's
but look at us right now. How many fucking wires do we have? And we're just inside. Imagine if you had to go into a car,
no, you're right.
I mean,
I'm surprised
I
there's
don't
not some like alpha male podcast bro who's come up with some. You know, they've got like the little TikTok microphones. I'm surprised there's
yeah,
not.
you got like a wireless, yeah, but like I feel like a lav mic isn't going to do the trick when someone also wired. I guess
I
you can
know.
have a Bluetooth one, but
Anyway, I'm just surprised that technology hasn't come up with something
well,
yet. But
apparently it did because he didn't find it.
it's a good point.
You know what? Maybe it was an invisible one and it was a state of the art,
Ooh.
you know? So in that moment, of course, Anthony was probably also peeing his pants, but had to play it cool because he's thinking if Liam did kill Sarah, now I'm alone with a murderer. And if he finds out that I have a wire on me, I'm fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the detectives like were listening, but they couldn't really intervene unless
Right.
something happened, and then it would maybe be too late. So it's all just very scary. But you can in the footage from the vehicle, Liam seemed calm and a little frustrated, like as if he were kind of inconvenienced. I know you know what that's like. Very bad, right?
Worst thing that could happen to you.
And he goes, "Oh, what's wrong, man? Like, what's up?" He goes, "Yeah, I got the FBI on my ass, dude." It's just so a minor inconvenience, you know how that happens sometimes. And he's like, "About what?" And Liam said, "Killing Sarah."
Oh, he didn't even say like they think I did it. That's crazy that they would think that, right? He
Nope.
just straight up said killing her.
He just straight up said, "Killing Sarah." He goes, "Oh, wow, what happened, man?" He then described in vivid detail ambushing Sarah in her house, choking her from behind with his arm until she went limp and dropped on the floor. Then she began to have what he described as some sort of seizure.
Oh fuck.
And so he gagged her mouth with a t-shirt and pinched her nose shut with his hand until she asphyxiated.
Oh my god.
And Anthony was sitting there just like,
Cool
probably
man. Cool man.
getting,
Yeah.
right. And like getting probably deeply traumatized. And Liam went on to tell Anthony he was surprised by how long it took to kill Sarah. He thought choking her would take a couple of minutes, but he said it took nearly half an hour
Wow.
to asphyxiate her.
Wow.
And he said, this guy's a motherfucking sicko. He said he knew how long it took because he turned on his iPhone stopwatch just to see.
Wow.
Just to time it. He said the only complication he had worried about was the dog, Buddy. But he said Buddy just watched in his crate and I just left him there. What is wrong with you?
I can't even imagine being a dog watching that, knowing that there's nothing you can do.
It's horrific. It's horrific. The thought, I don't even like to think about it. But if you also think about it, which is so dark, Buddy had known Liam since he was a pup, like forever, because Liam was always over. They were like close friends. And so he wouldn't have even considered him an intruder. Like he would have just been like,
Right.
oh, he's here, even while Sarah was in distress. So as Liam described killing this woman who considered him, by the way, her lifelong best friend, he just like spoke so unaffected by it. Was kind of like, yeah, it was weird. I timed it on my stopwatch, unfazed.
Is Anthony like laughing along with this? Like they're bros? Like, no way.
Basically, Anthony was like, well, man, yeah, well, like I think just letting him talk, basically, just kind of like, just letting him keep going. And I think they also prepped him for what to say you know, I mean, they clearly didn't prep him for what to do if he was getting patted down for a wire, but I think they did script out like possible conversation topics, you know,
Yeah.
and to try and get to the right answer. But it sounds like right away he just started spilling his guts. And so much so that he also mentioned, hey, you know, my roommate and buddy Preston, who's also one of Sarah's closest friends, he was involved too.
Oh shit. Oh, so he was
Oh,
really
yeah.
gonna let like Preston hang dry.
What do you mean?
Well, like they were like let him hang out to dry. Like he was gonna blame it all on Preston.
No, he just said Preston was was part of it.
Oh really? Because in like
Or what
when the police were first talking to him and he said like, oh yeah, well she went to the dance with this guy Preston, but I
Oh,
think they
no,
were
no,
just
sorry. That
friends.
was me saying like years ago they had gone to a dance together.
Oh.
Sorry.
I thought you were saying that
was
he like tried to redirect them to Preston.
No, no, no. I was just saying Preston, his roommate, who also was one of Sarah's friends, they even went to like homecoming together like in high school, but only as friends. And
Gotcha. Okay. It was just context
basically,
for me.
yeah, just context because she was very close with both of them and they lived together. So
But then he also
he
said, didn't he also say he would get really that sorry, didn't uh the killer, I forget his name all of a sudden.
Liam.
Didn't he say like, oh well Preston used to get weirdly jealous of her love interests and stuff like that?
No, no, no. Sorry. None of that was about Preston. She dated girls and she had these like fixations on her exes and would
Oh.
get kind of manipulative sometimes, is what he claimed. That she would sometimes like tell an ex, you know, if you don't come over here, I'll kill myself, that kind of thing. And he said, you know,
I
she was a
see.
little troubled. She would make comments like that. But we don't even know if that's fucking true because now we know he had an ulterior motive to say shit like that. But he basically painted her as looking very unstable and like having a very abusive father in her life. And so
Gotcha.
that he was trying to lead them to believe she had gone to Canada is
Right.
what like he was like, well, you know, she dates girls and like her dad is very abusive and then Preston's like, yeah, he is.
Right. But
It's just
meanwhile
funny.
the dad is like racing home because he is very maybe not so toxic as
I don't think it was. I think they argued, but her friends were like, everyone argues with their parents. It wasn't anything
yeah.
out of the ordinary. So it seems like they were maybe putting some emphasis on leading the police in the wrong direction. So yeah, he's basically like, oh, by the way, my buddy Preston also helped me out. Like this was his plan, but he's basically now saying, oh yeah, my buddy Preston also helped. So Anthony's just sitting there like letting all this kind of happen and probably thinking like how soon can I get out of this fucking car. But apparently when he asked like, well, what happened, man, he said Sarah had told them about the money she had found. And remember when her aunt told her, don't ever say a fucking word because
Yeah.
people are gonna come after you. And lo and behold, she told her lifelong best friend and look what happened. It's just so sad. So apparently the two of them, Preston and Liam, spent months planning how they would rob Sarah of this money. Like the second she found the money and told them, they were like, okay, well, let's steal it from her.
How do you even begin a conversation like that with somebody else to see if they're game? Like, how do you
I
go
don't
like,
know.
wouldn't it be funny if we like robbed her?
I always
Immediately.
wonder that. Like, how do these people even find each other? You know?
I know. Yeah.
Like to be willing to do that for like, which is like what, couple thousand, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever it was. Like,
Of
really?
your dead mom's money, like
Right. Like, really? There's no better way? So they basically spent months. And then he fucking contacts his friend who's a filmmaker and is like, I have a great plot for you. Like, okay, guy. Like,
and also you think
fucking
about like
seriously?
$25,000 split two ways is like 12 grand. Like 12 grand is all it takes to kill your friend. That's fucking
Exactly,
crazy.
your best friend, right? And
I
like,
try to think of how
not
much money it
even-
would take to kill you. Not 12 grand.
That's good.
You're at least worth 12 grand to make her
Hey,
seem.
listen, when what is it called? Super Paws? Sparkle Paws? What's that
Oh,
hoodie
Sparkle
website?
Spark Paws.
When Spark Paws money comes in and
Yeah.
nobody hears from me again, you'll know what happened. You'll know what happened. No, but I moved to Canada is what happened because, you know, better healthcare, you know. No, but seriously, like the fact that you would have this horrible thought with your friend, you've already got somebody who's on the same page as you somehow, and you're both close friends with this person. And then on top of that, you're like, oh, now let me call my other friend and tell him about this great idea so that he can make a movie about it. God, what, so embarrassing. God, so fucking douchey and so embarrassing. It just, Ugh, okay. So apparently Sarah told them about the money. They were trying to figure out, how to get the money from her. And he said, but the bummer is on the day, I don't know if he said the bummer, but he basically told in the same, vibrato as he mentioned the FBI being on his ass, he told Anthony that the day he killed Sarah, she only withdrew 10 grand from her deposit box, not the full amount. So basically, they killed her for 10 grand total.
So 5 each.
Yeah.
Also,
Liam
like,
had
so
also, to be fair, they believed she had more money than that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, not that
but also
matters, but
like, how, what's the story behind her taking 10 grand out of the bank that day? Like, did he say she should do that? Or because why would they have thought she would take all that money out all at once? Like, what's their story? Why was he at the bank with her? Did he suggest, like, you should totally go just
That's
like take all the money out of your bank? Ha ha ha.
that's a very good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what the story is where he's like, oh, she only took out 10 grand when I was expecting the 25. Why were you expecting 25? Why were you expecting her to go to the bank and take any money out? Like, what's the story there?
Agreed.
And also, like, you're obviously talking about it with her for her to go, oh, yeah, I just took out 10 grand. Like, how, like, why'd she even take 10 grand out? Where were you going? Maybe he was convincing her to actually move to Canada and was like...
I mean, maybe he thought he could, like, get her to start taking money out and prep for her.
Yeah, maybe he was being super encouraging about moving to Canada, and she was like, okay, I took out 10 grand to get started or something. And then he was like, fuck, not the whole thing.
Well, he actually said, quote, and I fucking quote, the worst part of it is I thought I was walking out with 50 grand, 100 grand in my pocket. Like, he didn't even know how much money there was. So he's just telling himself, oh, I'm going to make like 100 grand off this. And he basically felt cheated because he only got like 5 grand.
Well, that bitch.
I mean, I know, right? That's the worst part, is what he says. Jesus Christ. I mean, I can't. Liam told Anthony he's the only person who knew about Sarah's murder and made it clear that he and Preston would kill Anthony too if he became like a liability. And Anthony's like, nah, man, I would never say anything. Oh my God. Imagine the wire. God. And then you're like, thank God he didn't find a wire.
Last thing I'm going to say, sorry, I know we just stepped away from this conversation about like how much money there was, but like, so he knew that she had only 10 grand and he still fucking killed her? Like, for being that disappointed that it's not 100 grand and you realize you're about to get 5?
Well, I don't know if he knew how much she took out until he killed her and then went through her stuff.
I see.
Know what I mean?
Okay, you're right.
Like, he basically said, like, she went and got money out, then I killed her and realized it was only 5 grand. So I think like he thought she took out some massive quantity of cash and didn't find out until after he had killed her.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry, going back. So he has now threatened Anthony, his best friend.
Now he's like, you're on the hook too. Preston, I will kill you if you become a liability. And he's like, I would never do that. Please don't look at my lapel mic that I'm wearing right now.
If you hear any radio interference, no, you didn't.
It's a bucket of fake blood. I dropped my camera in it. Don't worry about it. It's just this is what it sounds like. The detectives basically are listening to this like, holy shit. He then thanked Anthony for meeting. Like, it sounds like he wanted to like tell him, because he had asked him to meet up a few times, and it sounded like he wanted to either tell him or like make sure he didn't have any loose ends.
I think that's what it was. Yeah,
that must be what it is. Yeah. So the detectives arrested Preston immediately, and they basically took him in because they didn't want to like swoop in and say, oh, you're under arrest. He was wearing a wire. Like, you know, Anthony was working with us. So they let that be for now and let Liam think that Anthony was not, that he was in the clear. And they went and arrested Preston, who confessed immediately. And one detective actually said it was the fastest anyone had ever confessed in his entire detective career. So
damn, like before the handcuffs were even on.
Yeah, just like, okay, I did it. So Preston told them that Liam had come home that night after work and said he, quote, did it, that he had done it.
Wow.
Liam had killed Sarah and had gone to work, and now he said, I need your help to move her body. And Preston went with Liam to move Sarah into her car, then drove a separate car while Liam drove Sarah in her own car to the bridge.
Which was where like she
to the bridge. Went there and left it alone. Exactly. There, they were going to push her body into the river while Preston drove by, and then Liam would just jump into Preston's car. But Liam wasn't strong enough to lift Sarah himself. loser again. Just I can't stand this guy. I just
He wasn't even
fucking
strong enough to lift
thinks he's
her, but
no,
he's
he
like
thinks he's like such a badass. It makes me crazy.
also, well,
Fucking
like, who are
jackass.
his friends where he just like went to two different people unprompted and said, "Oh yeah, I
Right?
killed her." Like,
And why is everyone so shocked? It seems like this guy is a bad dude. Like, has he never shown this side of himself before? You know what I mean? Like, has nobody been
yeah,
like, that guy kind of sucks? Like, it seems like everyone liked him
it's so weird. That's so
and
weird.
found him pretty normal. You know,
I
he also didn't have any record, any criminal record, like nothing. Just so weird.
I do feel like Preston probably watched him from like his own car, watching this guy trying to lift the body, not even be able to do it. And he's just like, "Oh my fucking god!" Like,
Like,
this guy.
how did I get roped into this shit? You know?
Yeah, like he
Like,
watching him struggle through something that like, if you're gonna
ugh.
try to get away with this, you have to be
Yeah,
weirdly
this is
seamless
not
with it.
right. It's not well planned. It's not. No, it's just so fucking tragic.
Yeah, I
So
don't.
right. So Preston basically has to park his car and get out, and then they're both putting Sarah into the river.
Oh
So
god,
that
that's
is
so sad.
it's so sad. It's like when you think about I mean, it's honestly sickening.
And also poor Preston, like he was just probably like eating mac and cheese at home, and then all of a sudden he now has to
Well,
go
he
help
had
lift a
been.
body into the river.
To be fair, he had spent months plotting how to steal
Oh
all this
right,
money, so
right.
he knew this was coming, or he at least knew for the most part it was coming. He's very much involved. Do not worry. No
Okay,
poor Preston here.
okay, gotcha.
Also, he picked up a body and dumped it in the river. So
Right.
even if you were surprised and eating mac and cheese, that was not the right move. You know. Um. So police take Preston, who had confessed immediately, to the bridge. And they actually put him in a life jacket. Like they forced him into a life jacket because they were worried he would try to jump. But he was just really calm, like eerily so. And
Ugh.
just like Liam in Anthony's interview, he just seemed like completely emotionless. So either of these two psychopaths like happened to move in together and were like, great, we're both the same. Let's fuck some shit up, you know? I don't know. Because they just seemed completely unfazed by by killing one of their closest and longest friends. It's
That's
just
crazy.
bizarre to me. Then Preston took investigators to the Sandy Hook Lighthouse where they had buried a safe filled with some of Sarah's money. And Preston agreed to testify against Liam, and he pled guilty as part of a deal to multiple charges, including disturbing or desecrating human remains, conspiracy to desecrate human remains, robbery, conspiracy to commit robbery, and tampering with physical evidence. But in exchange, the murder was basically off the table, and that any sort of additional charges were off the table, and he would testify against Liam as part of this deal. So the trial began January 23rd, 2019. And before the trial, Liam's defense team tried but failed, thankfully, to suppress the video confession that he had made to Anthony, because that's not a good look for your client to have a video saying, "Oh, the suckiest part is I didn't get as much money as I wanted," you know. And so they were not able to keep that out of the trial, so that's good. And once it was played at the trial, the defense argued that the confession was actually an audition for a film. Isn't that creative?
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. They claimed Liam was only acting and was just trying to impress Anthony and get into into one of his movies. Are you insane? I mean, what are you even talking about?
Did the whole jury just roll their eyes? Like sometimes I wonder what the defense thinks the other people are going to think.
I know. Who comes up with this shit?
It's another one of those things where I'm like, I know a defense lawyer, like I know this is your job, but like at some point, don't you just look in the mirror and go like, I don't like that this is my job.
Sometimes it's got to feel really bad. Sometimes you probably do really believe like I'm doing the right thing, whatever. But sometimes you got to be like, uh-oh. But yeah, I mean, listen, everyone's has a right to a fair trial, so someone's got to stand up for you. You know, someone's got to do it. So Liam's mother even testified that Liam wouldn't have been so stoic and like unemotional if he were actually confessing to a murder. And I'm like, or he's just a sociopath and he doesn't care, but whatever. And Anthony testified that there had never been any discussion about an audition or a movie and was like, no, that is not what was happening. Liam had gotten into Anthony's car, searched for a wire, acknowledged he was being investigated by the FBI for Sarah's murder, and then described the crime in detail. It's not a movie audition. This is literally what happened.
Oh my God.
And then Preston said, yeah, that is what happened. You know, it's like, okay, nice try with the movie audition. But anyway, there was simply no reason to believe that this was like a fake confession. And so pretty much the jury did roll their eyes and say, okay, we see what's happening here.
Yeah, this feels stupid.
Yeah, this feels like a big lie. So detectives also discovered the key to the buried safe containing Sarah's money on Liam's key ring when he was arrested. He literally had the key to her fucking safe, the safe with her money in it, on his key ring. Fucking dumbass. God. His early interviews, oh, by the way, so now they go back. Remember how they had done all those interviews with him? Well, of course, they had filmed them all. And so now that they have much more context, they go back and rewatch all those interviews they did with him. And they're starting to like realize things aren't adding up. Mm-hmm. So they go back and they listen to these interviews, and he talks about like how abusive her dad was and like how that must be why she left. But then they're thinking, he's the only one that said this. Like, nobody else mentioned an abusive father relationship. And like her best friend Carly, who lives next door, and Carly's mom, Robin, did not seem to have any idea what they were talking about. Aside from just like an occasional argument or something from a 19-year-old and her dad. But text messages also corroborated that, because when they looked at their phones, Sarah and Michael had sent very like loving and like I miss you type messages when he was going to Florida with Christine. And there was just only proof that they had a perfectly normal relationship.
Imagine the rage in this dad who wants to like absolutely like, beat the dog shit out of this guy.
I know. It's just like one thing on top of another. Sarah's aunt testified that Sarah did plan to move to Canada, but she had agreed to wait until the summer of 2017 so she could like make more solid plans, because her aunt knew she had found that money. And her aunt was like, why don't we just like sit on it for a minute, like make real plans before you just up and leave, you know? And so she testified. And Sarah also had decided to stay in Jersey a little longer because her 96-year-old grandmother had been planning to move to Florida. And she's like, I want to be here with her while she's local, you know, before she moves to a retirement community or whatever.
So she had like a good head on her shoulders and was responsible for this money. Like,
yes. And it just all seems, it was just all so thrown out of context, you know? Mm-hmm. Sarah actually made plans to go to bartending school because she wanted to work at night and make art during the day. She had also already planned a trip to Broadway in New York just after Christmas. She had gotten Christmas gifts for her grandma. She was planning a short vacation with one of her friends to go to Canada and scope it out and see like potential neighborhoods. It's just heartbreaking.
She was doing the long game of this though. Like she wasn't going to just
she was like enjoying it. Yeah, and she was like, I just want to, you know, make art and like explore a new country. It's just so heartbreaking. And so, you know, it was just obvious to everybody that knew Sarah that she was like making plans and, you know, like having ideas of Christmas gifts, even though it was weeks away. Like there was not a plan or an immediate obvious plan for her to run away or die by suicide. Mm-hmm. All of these testimonies, of course, painted a completely different picture than what Liam had described, which was that this young woman was depressed, manipulative, obsessive, afraid of her father, like kind of that psycho ex-girlfriend vibe he tried to paint her with. And he'd even lied about Sarah being fired from her job. Remember when he said, oh, she's been fired, and police were like, oh, you know, that's often a trigger. Well,
she's unstable, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So her former boss actually testified that she was a great employee and she had quit her job to focus on art, but like there were no hard feelings and like there was nothing there that was sketchy at all. Although they were not able to find a body in the case, which was always, you know, a questionable like outcome, like can we convince a jury without a body? It was Liam's taped confession to Anthony and Preston's testimony against Liam that were compelling enough proof that Sarah was indeed dead.
But yeah, there's no evidence quite like being wired and having your own best friend go against you.
A full first person confession on camera, a la a movie audition. And your best,
it's just an audition.
It's just an audition. And your roommate being like, yeah, no, we did it. Yeah, it's just not a good look. However, it's nothing. It's not a plot twist. It tries to be. In an attempt to cast doubt on Sarah's death altogether, the defense, you remember how creative they are, right?
Uh-huh.
They call a witness to the stand who claims he saw Sarah Stern alive the day after she was killed. And he claims so vividly. He drove past her with his son. She was walking down the street, and he apparently told his son, "That is an awfully good-looking girl to be walking on the street at 5 o'clock in the morning." And days later,
Why
when he
would you
saw
say that to
Sarah
your
in the
son?
First of all, why would you say that to your son, and why is nobody saying that's weird? But okay. And then days later, apparently he saw a picture of her, a flyer of her, or saw her on the news and recognized that he had seen her. And he said there was no doubt. He was 100% sure he absolutely had seen her and was completely confident. But despite that recollection, he did mix up the day he claimed to have seen Sarah and had to be corrected on stand, which is not a good look.
Awkward.
And awkward. And he also testified that he had not spoken to any detectives about seeing Sarah that day. And in response, detectives played a recording of the interview they did indeed have with him for the courtroom.
Oh, for
And
God's
his
sake.
credibility fell completely apart. And the defense was like, oh, darn it. So Liam did not testify. That's probably for the best. And the jury found
just
him
keep
guilty.
your mouth shut at this point.
Honestly,
Everyone
at
you
this
talk
point,
to is an enemy for you.
this is not a movie audition. How many times do we have to tell you? You're in a court of law, okay, on trial for murder. So Liam was ultimately sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and that's actually the most severe sentence in New Jersey now that the death penalty has been abolished.
Okay.
Preston, meanwhile, was sentenced to 18 years in prison for his involvement, and he is required to serve at least 15 years of the sentence. Liam's team appealed for a retrial, arguing once again that the video confession to Anthony Curry was not admissible in court. They didn't say the audition thing again, I don't think, but
they were like, even that was too stupid.
Even that was silly. Even we know that's silly. Yeah. Likewise, Preston appealed for a shorter sentence, and both were denied and are both still in prison today. And of course, Sarah is the heart of the story. She has been remembered as a wonderful artist. Apparently, they held a memorial service in her honor where 1,000 people attended, and they founded this scholarship in her memory. And the whole building, I have chills, the whole building was decked out in all her art. They had just displayed it throughout the whole memorial service, and 1,000 people came. And one friend, they played, oh my gosh, they played clips of different friends and what they said at the memorial service, and like people were laughing and crying, and it was just really beautiful because like her dad said he just sat there and watched all these people talk about his daughter and like how much she had meant to them, and it was just very moving. And yeah, one of them just said, I've never seen anyone love an animal as much as Sarah loved her dog Buddy, and that one kind of stuck with me. So
poor Buddy. That's
the story of Sarah Stern.
Wow. Certainly plot twists, and
yes.
Certainly
I wished for a better plot twist. I wished that there was a Canadian plot twist. I wished, but there was not.
I wish the plot twist was that she was alive.
I know, me too.
But
that would have been really nice.
Audition one. I mean, it just once again the narcissism of men is just insane. The cockiness of like
it's
I can tell anyone I want, anything I'm thinking, and I'll get away with it.
And I'll just say it's a movie idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it was also her fault because she should have had more money.
Yeah, it wasn't
to
even
make
worth
me
it.
killing her worth it. Like she deflated my fun in killing her. What a bitch.
God. It's just so dark. It's so dark.
Yuck.
Anyway, so what do you want to talk about in the happy hour today?
I don't know. I was going to say at least we're recording our listeners episode after this so you can drink after.
Thank God. Oh, you're right. Wow, it's 4:30 p.m. I'm ready.
All right. We'll figure it out when we get there, I guess. We'll talk about our whatever finds us, I suppose we'll chat about.
Ooh, whatever the muse brings to the table.
Yes. And
that's
why
we
drink.